guys salute me.
It's the wake-up call with KB and Andy.
Wake up!
Wake up, will you, pal?
They need a wake-up call.
Someday this country's gonna wake up.
Wake up and smell the coffee.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous Wednesday morning. I would assume this will turn into a steamy one, though, beginning at 10 a.m. That certainly was the case yesterday for the first full padded practice of Colts camp, and we are back here. The wake-up call with myself, Kevin Bowen, Andy Sweeney. Thank you to Jack, on-site engineer. Thank you to the great Ken, who's already delivered our ice-cold waters on this Wednesday morning, part of the excellent staff here at Grand Park. Andy, we don't have many of these back-to-back days.
I know, it's one of them. We have four of them.
Yeah, only the second of four of these, but today, again, 90 minutes scheduled to be out here, and if it's anything like yesterday, I will be dripping in sweat by 10:04.
Boy, I tell you, it kind of snuck up on me later on in the show. I don't know. It was like 9 o'clock hour. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of hot out here. And we were kind of like sitting in the sun. Then the sun went behind the clouds. And then, like, literally practice started. And, you know, it's pretty hot. I'm looking around. Every media member is sweating through their shirt. Okay, and I'm like, yeah.
You were asking me for the water cooler.
I'm like, yeah, it's really hot. Then I'm like, yeah, man, it is really hot. And so it was sneaky hot yesterday, but excited to be out here. We have reprimanded young Jack, who is next to us, our on-site engineer. He's been saying for 3 days how he needs to bring his sunglasses out here, and he did not do it again. He says his eyes adjust after 30 minutes, so he must have some bionic eyes, has Jack. But a good morning to you. And, boy, I think there's things to talk about. I mean, I left yesterday in more, in love with Latu, even more. Let Latu loose. I know you wrote about that a little bit on the website. Hard Knocks. Chris Ballard, the Colts, did they try to move up? So tons to talk about today. We did speak with Josh Downs yesterday after practice. We'll replay that later this hour. Stephen Holder at 8 o'clock. I love Josh Downs, our conversation with him.
Cool dude. I love how Josh Downs plays football.
Yeah, he's just an interesting guy, man.
I think he's so solid. And I know when you use that word, it can oftentimes just be filled with a bit of a negative stereotype. Like, oh, he's solid. Well, am I lowering the ceiling too much for him?
Right. Does that mean he doesn't have upside? That's what people automatically think.
And I don't think that's true with Downs.
No.
I think in this day and age of a slot wide receiver, and he'll share, many of his favorite slot wideouts. I do think he can be such a key ingredient to Anthony Richardson, really, in providing that safety blanket for him. So Josh Downs, again, we'll play that coming up here about 7:40. As Andy said, Stephen Holder going to join us at 8. Certainly yesterday, I think, was the day for Latu, just in terms of the first full padded practice. Because, it is July 31st. And so far, there's only so many boxes that are presented to you as a player. And it's your job to try and obviously check as many of those boxes as you can. And for me yesterday, it was, again, truer evaluation in full pads. With the injury to Samson Ebukam, inevitably, Latu is going to start to get more and more of these, starting type reps. How would he look? And he continues to cook offensive tackles no matter their name. And yesterday, that included Bernhard Raimann.
It did, yeah.
On more than one occasion, whether it be one-on-ones, whether it be the 11-on-11, where he certainly had what would have been a sack of Anthony Richardson. So, again, you can only do what is presented to you here in late July. But I don't know how you watch Latu in rookie minicamp, in a little bit of the OTAs, and here through 4 practices at Grand Park, and continue to not be thoroughly impressed with the 15th overall pick.
Well, I mean, there's a reason maybe that he was the first defensive player taken in the draft. And we know, and we'll talk about it, Chris Ballard potentially wanting to move up. I know Hard Knocks alluded to that last night. Yesterday, it was like in the 9 o'clock hour, KB, I said, let Latu loose. I kind of, was joking around. But, there's a defensive line rotation and edge rotation that we're going to see. And you just keep watching the guy in practice. And, KB, you've been doing this long enough. You've covered the Colts now, 13, 14 years, where, this watching the NFL. Some guys just move a little bit different. You watch them on the field, and it's not quite the same as everybody else. And that's not a shot at anybody else. It's not a shot at guys who can get 6, 7, 8, 9 sacks in a year that look and are really good players to make some nice money in the NFL. But there's a reason he was drafted where he was. I left yesterday wondering how our rhetoric now on Latu would continue to change. We still need to see him, and we'll get to the sound as we go in our morning checkdowns. But, Steichen yesterday, I thought, he didn't want to talk much yesterday. I got to be honest. Shane Steichen was back to 5-6 second answers. But, I thought yesterday, hey, I can't wait to see him in the preseason game. I think right now this coaching staff is itching to see him against someone other than a guy in a Colts uniform. And, we've been talking so much, hey, on third down situations perhaps is where we're going to see a lot of them. That's the case, but, Ryman talked after practice about how the guy looks like he can play the run as well. If that's the case, he's going to get more snaps.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting quote from Bernard Ryman we can get to here throughout the show of just the twitchiness and the difficulty of even blocking Latu as a run defender, which, again, can well round his game out a little bit. Like you said, Andy, I've been fortunate to cover this team for over a decade now. And feel free, someone out there, if they like to and they're bored as hell at work and hate their boss, fact check me on this and go back and see if I had said something similar on, a former Colts edge rusher.
It's a lot of tape, KB. No offense. You're saying, hey, go through years and years of me being on the radio and writing about what I've said about defensive ends.
Google does some magical things and how quickly people can pull out some of this stuff. But I don't recall the last time an edge rusher has strung together the amount of days that I think Latu has done it. Now, I do think we have to preface, with Braden Smith still being brought along slowly, I really think right now the Colts only have one quality tackle in Ryman. Like, I'm a little worried about the tackle depth.
Okay.
And Blake Freeland.
Sure.
And
that's worth talking about.
Matt Gonzalez. So, part of that is Gonzalez, it's his fourth NFL practice. So that is something I guess you need to preface, but I just don't – certainly not any of these young rushers they've drafted, in the Ballard era, whether it's Kamoko Turi or even Kwity Paye or Ben Banigou or Terrell Basham or, any of those names. And, I think something I want to throw Stephen Holder's way when he joins us at 8 is just, okay, what should be our rookie expectations for Latu?
I know.
Because I think fans will be a bit surprised to see the lack of rookie sack numbers in regards to really league-wide. If you look at it in the last decade, Andy, we've only had 5 guys reach double-digit sack numbers in the entire NFL as a rookie. And, I mean, if you want to look at that list.
Is Aiden Hutchinson on the list? I'm trying to think who's on the list.
It's Parsons. It's Crosby. Yeah. It's Bosa. I mean, it's the big guys. It's Josh Allen. It's Bradley Chubb. I mean, it is the guys. So if I said to you, I probably should have flipped that. That's poor radio on me. I probably should have said to you, let's set an over-under on Latu sacks. And if I'm going to guess, you might have said something around, 9 or 10.
I probably would have been a little bit lower.
Okay, a little bit lower.
Maybe 7.5, 8.5, something like that. I mean, that's still if you got 9 sacks, that would lead the team, again, in some years.
The Colts have had 2 guys reach double-digit sacks in the last 11 years.
Wow, I know.
And that's Eric Walden and Justin Houston, and they barely even got to that number. So I think getting to that number should not be taken for granted. And certainly if you want to compare Latu to those Colts, young rushers in the Ballard era, none of those guys have sniffed it, Paye and Toure and Banigou, Basham, etc. So I continue to be thoroughly impressed with them off the field and on the field as well. So I thought that was kind of what stood out to me the most yesterday. Again, we're third of the way through practice here at Grand Park. It'll be practice number 5 of 12 today. But I thought on a day with full pads, kind of a quieter day throwing the football, a little bit more of a run focus, I did think Latu flashed.
Yeah, and today's going to be a longer practice, starting at 10, going to 11:30 today. I will say, as an aside, I'm very excited. At some point after practice, we're going to get E.J. Speed. We're going to have a conversation with E.J. Speed. And you know that E.J. Speed's my favorite player on the team.
Now why is this?
Because he's a crazy man.
Yeah, he is. He is crazy.
Because
he is crazy.
He's a football crazy man.
Yes.
E.J. Speed is that guy for the Colts. So I'm excited. He's got the podcast with Zaire Franklin. I did love Zaire yesterday. We'll get back to Latu. Zaire was like, I haven't got in a fight yet, but it's coming. Like he basically said it on Twitter. I haven't got in any scuffles. I said I would be,
threw out the word yet, correct?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. But so a longer practice.
Well, and
today.
I would call Speed, EJ Speed. I would call that a scuffle yesterday. Did you catch a glimpse of him and Michael Pittman Jr.?
I did. Yeah.
See, I would call Michael Pittman Jr. and Jalen Jones from Sunday. I'd call that a fight.
A fight, right?
And I would call yesterday
A scuffle.
And I think if I could put words into Michael Pittman Jr.'s mouth, I think there's a little bit of it. When the full pads come on, the defense chirps. Yeah. And they chirp.
You think?
And they chirp.
And they chirp.
And they chirp.
Yeah.
And I think it was Michael Pittman Jr. trying to send a little message of like,
well, someone has to do it.
Offensively, we're probably not going to be the ones being too vocal. Let me set a little bit of a tone early on. So probably a question we could throw EJ Speeds away when he joins us here coming up in a bit.
One more on Latu. It's interesting. I'm not singling you out. I feel like I felt the same way. We started this week, maybe even last week, KB, but definitely on Monday. I mean, it felt like Latu was going to be a little bit more of a relief pitcher for this team. To make the baseball analogy, it's starting to feel like if he continues to put these practices together and if he has some of those spurts that we talk about in a preseason game, obviously in August we're going to get the two practices with the Arizona Cardinals. It feels like he's becoming more of a starting pitcher. Does that, I mean, I don't know. Are you kind of getting there? Your tone has changed just a little bit the last couple days.
Yes, but I'm still not all the way there.
You're still guarded. Yeah, that's fair.
Let's remember his specialty. Let's remember what's more important, and that is the lack of consistent pass rush for this football team. And, I said this yesterday in reference to the Samson Ebukam injury. Andy, you just have more on the defensive line's plate with how you go about your defense, with how you don't blitz, with how you have operated with the secondary. There's just more in that group. And I think with guys like Dayo Odengbo and guys like Tyquan Lewis, you don't have to throw 800 snaps at Latu as a rookie.
Yeah, you don't have to,
and,
right.
I mean,
you're right.
Let's not totally ignore the neck for a second here. Let's not,
we haven't talked about it. We haven't mentioned it one time.
He was healthy at UCLA for 2 years, but, I'll go back to when Latu was drafted, and I was obviously a big fan of the pick. He was hammering home, pass rush and pass rush and pass rush, and that trade is so coveted by NFL teams. If you can get 6 to 8 years out of Latu, that can make up, in my opinion, for maybe 8 to 10 if you're really worried about the neck. And in a way, I look at Latu's rookie season, and I think to myself, man, if he gets to 9 or 10 sacks, that is one of the more historic rookie years we've seen for the Colts in decades.
Oh, he'll be on a short list for, rookie defensive player of the year and those sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean,
no doubt.
NFL
he may not win it, but
I also think you do kind of need it from Latu, early on, because again, if the Colts don't feel this way, but if they do, if at some point in Latu's career the longevity of his career is cut short due to the neck, then you need the early impact because you're not going to get necessarily the 10-year career that you expect out of the first round pick. Again, for those that missed it last night on Hard Knocks, there was a clip there, and this is still your Giants. This is still the Giants off-season Hard Knocks.
It's going to switch to the Bears pretty soon.
There was a clip from their GM, the pride of DePaul, the pride of Elkhart, Indiana, Joe Shane, in fielding a trade call from Chris Ballard and the Colts. And now, I'll go back to draft night, and we'll play the Ballard audio here coming up. It almost was like Chris Ballard was proud of telling the media on draft night that he made a serious offer to try and move up.
Right.
And lo and behold, we have the audio of that. The trade was 15 overall, 46 overall, and then a second-round pick in 2025 for your Giants pick, which was number 6 overall. Now, if we play out how all the trade mechanisms worked in the 2024 draft, Andy, that trade would have looked like this. Because remember, the Colts ended up trading back from 46 to 52 to take A.D. Mitchell. So let's play this out. You think Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze the Colts are going up for?
Oh, I think it's Malik Neighbors. I don't think it's close. I was telling you before the show, I like A.D. Mitchell a great deal. We've had a conversation with A.D. Mitchell. I think A.D. Mitchell can be a really good player. I think there's a chance Malik Neighbors is next level, number one wide receiver, coming out of LSU, the Jordan Jefferson, the early in his career, obviously, before he nuked his own career, Odell Beckham, and some guys like that. I think Neighbors could be that. It's going to be unfortunate, at least this year, probably the next couple years. His time with the Giants is going to be marred by bad quarterback play. But to me, there's no doubt in my mind, KB, that they were going for Malik Neighbors. And that's nothing to do with Dunze. It's no dig at him at all. I just happen to think, to me, Malik Neighbors was the number one wide receiver or behind Harrison Jr. in this class.
Malik Neighbors then, let's play this out, for Latu, A.D. Mitchell, Anthony Gould, Jalen Simpson, Micah Abraham, and if you want to throw in the future second, you call it Juju Brents.
Right.
Or, whatever
someone like that, right.
that would look like. Hindsight is better than 2020, if you could say that, because we've seen Latu.
I know.
We've had a Samson Ebicom torn Achilles. Hell, we had Titus Leo, unfortunately, carted off the field yesterday.
And I like Latu, but, man, what if the conversation and Neighbors were on this team? Making some big plays. I mean, he's making big plays at Giants camp. He's got Daniel Jones throwing to him.
Mark, do we have any audio of how Chris Ballard feels about the wideout position?
Sure.
Or maybe in my opinion on how I feel about wideouts?
Oh, you want that one? Okay. Yeah, I'll have to pull that up for a second, but it's not very hard to find.
Whether it's this or Justin Jefferson, Chris Ballard was doing some hunting for wideouts.
Yes, he was.
And I know we joke, and I remember when the Justin Jefferson news came out, I made the analogy. It's like me asking Augusta National, hey, do you guys have any open tea times today? I would prefer the twilight rate. Chris Ballard clearly had some serious interest in pursuing a wide. This would have been a blockbuster type of move, and theoretically, it would have been for a wideout.
Definitely made me think, and I mean, Bowen, every time I freaking read or listen to Bowen, it's like a constant freaking barrage of wideouts. Definitely made.
Oh, it's fantastic. That's my favorite sound. Well, the Giants, just to give context, the Giants were in the worst spot in the draft last year. They were not bad enough to get one of the quarterbacks, and no one wanted to say, yeah, come up here and get a quarterback, and we're not going to take a quarterback. Like New England, for instance. So they couldn't get a quarterback. They didn't want J.J. McCarthy, which I'm totally fine with. So they weren't going to get one of the top quarterbacks. And then at that point, you trade back. In that Hard Knocks clip last night, it's Joe Shane, the Giants GM, saying, okay, Indiana, thank you, talking to Chris Ballard. All right, thanks, Chris. We'll get back at you. When Chris Ballard said, hey, here's what we can give you compensation-wise to move up to 6. Right after that, the Jets and Joe Douglas called. Joe Douglas also. Who's your guy from Western Kentucky that you like, the wide receiver? Help me with his name.
Malachi Corley.
He was the Yak King.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, he went to the Jets, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the Jets have been trying to find somebody to put next to Garrett Wilson.
And the Jets were a little higher than 15, right?
Yeah, they were. What were they, like 10, 11? Right?
So.
Because people talked about them getting Bowers. Maybe they were even 9. Remember, Bowers was a name. And so, the Giants, they couldn't get a quarterback. And if they moved back, then in their mind, you're telling your fan base you're going to get a lesser player and you're moving back for picks. Well, that's fine. None of those guys might have a job by the time that magical second rounder comes around. So I think they were forced to they had to take somebody. And if you watch that show, Brian Dable was enamored with Malik Neighbors the entire time. But, man, I tell you, I think my reaction is, A, I'm not surprised. B, there are going to be a segment of Colts fans, KB, that see this and are angry, saying, Ballard's always telling us that, he tried to make a deal, but, the other team didn't want to make a deal. And they look around the NFL and they say, well, this team can make a deal and that team can make a deal and this other team can make a deal, but we never can make a deal. Well, obviously he did so with DeForest Buckner and others. So I agreed with you that Ballard wanted to put it out there that, hey, we were being aggressive. Fan base, I hear you. We were being aggressive. And then the other thing, and again, this is nothing against Latu, who I think is going to be a very, very good player. I think A.D. Mitchell, it's going to take some time, but I think he's going to be pretty good as well. If Neighbors were out, if Neighbors were here and was making big catches, nationally, I think the Colts would be a bigger story than they are today. And of course, locally, we'd be, we'd be fighting each other to get 8 minutes, an 8-minute interview with Malik Neighbors. So I'm not surprised by it. It's too bad for the Colts it didn't work out because that's who I truly think they were going after. You agree with that, right? That's who they were going after?
And I thought Ballard, probably described it pretty well. Just trading back from 6 to 15 was too far of a drop for the Giants. And if I think back to round 1 of the draft, if I'm not mistaken, I think we only had one trade, right, in the first 15 picks, and it was
I believe so.
a 1-pick swap. So it's not like you saw a lot of activity there on that. So that clip going around late last night. Again, we'll play some of the Ballard audio coming up a little bit later from draft night when he was describing about the serious trade offer that they did make. Other items of note here on this Wednesday morning, Team USA back in action on the hardwood. That is a 3 o'clock tip. Do I have this right? Now, they needed a layup from LeBron James to beat South Sudan in the exhibition round.
Correct, yes.
Did you see the spread for this?
No, I haven't. I love it. Let's go. Give it to me.
What do you think it is?
Okay, so Serbia was 15, and United States looked pretty good, so I'm going to say it's more. I'm going to say it's 18.5.
Mark, double check me on this. I'm seeing 29 points.
You're seeing 29? Well, I mean, okay, so let's do the math. It was 43.5 when they faced off in the exhibition season.
Was it that high?
It was 43.5. It was the biggest, it would have been the biggest upset in, men's Olympic basketball history. Yeah, it was 43.5. It ended up being, what was it, just a 1 or 2 point game. So they're saying U.S. won't be that bad. South Sudan, though, is also not that bad to where they're 43.5. So they settle at, what was it, 29.5? Boy, that's a lot.
29.
It's a lot of points.
Everyone wanting juice boxes and walking tacos and equal playing time for Team USA. Tell that to France yesterday.
Do the right thing, Kerr.
The latest is 29.
Japan.
29.
Gosh.
Straight up. That's a lot of points.
That is wild. Shout out to quite the finish yesterday on the women's rugby pitch.
We got to play that sound.
Unbelievable.
Did I see it? I mean, it was like the Iron Bowl a couple years ago. It was the kick six, Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah. It was unbelievable watching, what was her name, Cedric, the woman?
I believe so, yeah.
Just going truck stick and then turbo. And go. Now, I know there's only 7 women on the field. Did we not have a deep safety?
You got to have a safety standing at the end zone, right?
For New Zealand
to knock
there?
it down. Knock it down. That's what they say on Hail Marys. I know.
Unbelievable.
If you haven't seen it, we'll play the sound. But honestly, the calls don't do it.
Was it Australia?
Yeah, they don't do it justice. And the women are, the U.S. women are crying because they've won a bronze, right? I mean, the game was over.
Yeah,
the game was over. And the Australians are crying because they just gagged, a bronze medal.
It was like Adrian Peterson in his prime, just trucked her and just took off. It was wild.
You know what? That's great, Mark.
I'm trying to make the football analogy. I mean, yeah, kick six is probably the closest thing to it, but even more so, Australia just needed to ice the game. If they tackle them on the kick six, the game goes into overtime, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry,
if Australia makes a tackle there, the game's over.
Right.
And they win, and they're the bronze medal. And just an unbelievable highlight yesterday as the U.S. nabs the bronze medal. So, again, men's basketball, that's probably the highlight for today. Obviously, women's gymnastics absolutely dominant last night with Simone Biles leading the way there. And for our tennis folk out there, Carmel's own Rajiv Ram, again, he is a medalist with Venus Williams from back in the Rio Olympics. He's in the doubles today, and we have a doubles pairing of Carlos Alcaraz and Rafael Nadal.
I saw that. That's pretty good.
That's the matchup.
Yeah, that's the
for
ticket
Ram
to have.
and his partner today. So that is a quarterfinal matchup. That's kind of a juicy one from a local angle there.
Our guy David Woods from the Star, he needs to make his way over there. That's what you need to cover today.
I think he'll be all over that one here coming up on Wednesday.
Reminder, coming up in about 20 minutes or so, our conversation with Josh Downs, Stephen Holder in the 8 o'clock hour as well. We'll take a break. Your scores from last night, more of an Olympic update, plus some sound from Colts camp. We'll let you hear it. We'll do all of that next. Coming up, hanging out with you on this Wednesday in Westfield Grand Park. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Down. Brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
10 a.m., that's what time. Things are going to start here at Grand Parks. Speaking of 10, I guess, how about 10 minutes from now? Josh Downs with us. Really enjoyed our conversation with Josh Downs, and that's going to come up here in about 10 minutes.
All right, let's start your morning check down with some sound yesterday from Colts camp. First time we had heard from Shane Steichen, obviously, since the Samson Ebukam injury. So, Mark, let's start there. Steichen yesterday, Ebukam now done for the season with that torn Achilles. Here's what the head coach had to say.
That's a tough break for us. I mean, what a great competitor he is. The sacks he had last year, and he was just continuing in the right direction. So, big blow there, but, guys got to step up.
Yeah, guys stepping up. That seemed to be also the message from Shane Steichen yesterday, whether it's Latu, Kwity Paye, etc. Here's Steichen yesterday. Guys need to get it going with Ebukam out for the season.
Kwity, Dio, and Latu, it's time those guys need to step up. They're good players, and now obviously Latu coming in, rookie year. Obviously we like where he's at, and we got to keep repping that and go from there.
One more, Latu met with the media as well yesterday. Just a fun guy, man. Just a pretty good guy, and he was the talk of practice. That's why we opened the show. He's been quite the beast out here. Wondering if he gets more reps today. Latu met with the media, and he told him, hey, basically, I'm trying to get reps. I'm trying to win this starting job.
I'm just going to keep carrying on like I've been. I've been, fighting for that starting spot, fighting to prove that, I can be up there playing with the big dogs. So, I'm just going to continue doing that like nothing changes for me.
Shane Steichen audio clip sounds like me trying to achieve my word count in college.
Boy, he didn't want to meet with the media too much yesterday,
you have to play about 7
brother.
Steichen clips to get to a full minute, and maybe that's not even enough on that end. We'll await the injury update on Titus Leo, young defensive end, 6th-round pick from last year. He was carted off yesterday, the knee injury, so the Colts did make a back end of the roster move at defensive line. They're certainly banged up there right now with Ebukam out for the year. Dio Dengbo sounds like he's going to miss just a couple more practices with that calf injury. But again, a very, very strong day one in full pads for Latu. We'll talk more about that throughout the show. All right, Olympic update from yesterday. Again, women's rugby getting the bronze medal.
There's the music.
An absolutely epic finish in that one there. Spiff Cedric, that is the name of the woman, going full truck stick and then ultimate turbo there, the length of the field.
It's a great name.
To capture the bronze medal. Anything else on your viewing experience? Just say, obviously, women's gymnastics, absolutely dominant. They won by 6 points, which I don't know anything about gymnastics, but I guess that is just an insane margin.
Yeah, Simone Biles, 8 gold medals or 8 gold medals makes her that's the most in U.S. gymnastics history. So she was fantastic. I would say the only thing on the women's side, Team USA 3-on-3 basketball lost to Germany. I don't know if you saw any of that.
Did Jimmer and the men win 3-on-3?
Yeah, I believe so.
They did?
Yeah, I believe so. Mark, if you wouldn't mind checking. I thought I checked that this morning that they did. I watched just a little bit of that, but it's like, I don't know. Why is our 3-on-3 team this? Now, Haley Van Lith is on the women's team. She was good, but they lost 17-13 to the Germans.
Now,
does that bother you? Bothers me.
Well, I thought you'd go and compliment your favorite team, the U.S. men's soccer team, advancing to the knockout round for the second time since 1960.
No, you know what we needed? We need our young kids out there. All the prima donnas we have that try to play for the World Cup. These young kids are hungry.
Mark, what's on your in-studio viewing experience here on this Wednesday morning from an Olympic standpoint?
At the moment, I'm flipping through the BMX freestyle final, and the other option is USA women's field hockey. That's what we got going on so far.
Oh, I'd go with field hockey, right?
Have we scored more than we did the other morning against Spain? We only had un goal.
Last I checked, they were down 1-0. So I'd have to flip back and find it.
I feel like whenever we're watching, these teams aren't good. And then when we leave for the day and we go to Colts camp and Mark, puts the podcast up and we go our separate ways, suddenly all these, Team Americas, suddenly they all win. Don't you feel the same way?
Australia is currently beating the U.S. in women's field hockey 1-0 in the second period.
Now, did you see yesterday, the celebrities galore at the women's gymnastics, meet, of course. Did you see Scotty Scheffler and his wife trying to get the passy and the young baby?
Oh, I did not see this.
I mean, nothing is screaming. We've all been there before. Here you are in the venue. Luckily, it's probably a rather quiet venue. I mean, the music seems to be very soothing during the gymnastics meet there, but it was quite the effort.
Boy, that's a young baby, isn't it, man?
Watching these first-time parents.
That's like a 2-month-old, is it not? Like a 2 or 3 month old?
Right after Augusta, right?
Boy, and I know they fly over on a private jet. They're not flying American Airlines where they're jammed in seats.
Picking their seats on Southwest.
Yeah, D34.
If that's still allowed, I thought I saw a news.
No, it's going away. Yeah, Southwest
is
is done with that. That's why people love Southwest, was they got to pick their own seat.
We got golf starting here later this week
with
Scotty Scheffler and company from the Olympics. Other items of note yesterday, Mark. What do we need to know? MLB trade deadline. Anything? By the way, the Cubs stink.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, the
Reds
Cubs
beat the
stink.
Cubs last night 6-3.
I feel like the Orioles loaded up a lot. The Dodgers made a lot of trades, and then it seemed like the Reds traded a bunch of people.
It was a slow. But
the Reds keep on winning.
There was no blockbuster. It was a bunch of small moves. I said this yesterday. Jazz Chisholm going to the Yankees. He had what, 2 more home runs last night?
He's been doing well, right?
He won him the game.
Now, did I see this correctly?
Okay, well, ask us.
The American League All-Star team. Now, when was our All-Star game?
Like
we were
a
probably
week and a half, 2 weeks
Just a
ago.
couple weeks ago. Yeah, week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
They have more wins in the last 2 weeks than the Chicago White Sox.
Yes. Well, they said
right?
there's some fascinating stats that since the last double-digit losing streak the White Sox had, they'd only won 12 games in between their most recent double-digit losing streak. So they've won 12 whole games.
It's too bad that no one cares about the White Sox. If they did, this would be a lot more fun. But no one really cares that much.
And how about how about Tommy Pham, who is stuck on the White Sox? He gets traded back to the Cardinals, and he immediately hits a grand slam and helps them get a victory yesterday. It's like amazing what getting that White Sox stink off you does.
He did. That's fantastic.
Last thing I've got on my end, did you see Mike Woodson and company filled scholarship number 13?
Yeah, with another center.
Dallas James. Now,
God bless him.
I'm reading the press release, and then the first sentence of the press release.
Okay.
Mike Woodson mentions how intelligent of a human Dallas James is. And you know what?
Okay.
If I must say, this sounds eerily reminiscent to Kevin Bowen's dating life.
Yeah.
It's never a ringing endorsement when the press release starts that way. It sounds like a girl telling me
she has a nice personality.
You are so nice, you're
going
to be great for someone, but I'm just not ready. Nothing screams we don't have anything that nice to say about his basketball resume. So we'll start with his academics.
Well, you need academics. You got to keep that APR up. Come on, you know that at Notre Dame. You got to keep that APR popping.
4.0 GPA for young Dallas.
Hey, well,
electrical engineering technology major. He already has earned a degree. This will be a COVID year. 1.4 points per game.
Can I ask you something?
Dallas averaged last year at South Carolina
When he goes
State.
to whatever engineering or wherever he's going to do for his year at Indiana, okay, that building he goes to, is there a chance you've never been in that building on IU's campus? Like the engineering building. Did you ever go to that?
I'll be honest. I didn't know IU was much of an engineering school. I thought that was kind of always produced.
Well, it is.
Now, Dallas's dad.
Okay, who is he?
NBA journeyman Jerome James. Does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Okay.
So there you go. 13 scholarship for Mike Woodson going academic route.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's whatever. So only other thing I had.
Do the guy's papers on the team.
Whatever gets you to the second weekend of the tournament, I am here for Mike Woodson.
Amen to that.
I love that he was a 7-footer. One other quick NFL item, Mark. I'm sure you care about this. The Chicago Bears giving DJ Moore the largest extension in Chicago Bear history overnight. 4 years, $110 million, 82.6 guaranteed. I saw that when I woke up.
No Caleb Williams tomorrow, Mark?
No Caleb Williams
in the Hall of Fame game?
Healthy dose of Tyson Bagent and Brett Rippon, probably.
Yeah, no one's going to play.
I remember Tyson last year. He actually kind of did well against the
He was
Colts,
pretty
if I
solid,
remember correctly.
Yeah, no one's going to play in that game. So, all right, there's your morning check down. Reminder, coming up at 8 o'clock, Stephen Holder, ESPN.com will join us. But after the break, Josh Downs, wide receiver here for the Colts. And by the way, Michael Pittman makes a small appearance as well. What does he make of Colts camp? What does he make of his play? A.D. Mitchell and more. Josh Downs around the corner. He joins us next on this Wednesday. Wake up call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We're going to play the Josh Downs interview coming up here in just a second. In the 8 o'clock hour, what would the Colts have given up to get to number 6 overall? You saw that clip last night on Hard Knocks, or if you didn't, we will share exactly what that trade would have looked like and whether it's Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze that the Colts were trying to pursue back in April's NFL draft. But after yesterday's first full padded practice, we caught up with number 1 in the program. He is Josh Downs. We'll play that interview right now.
Welcome back to Grand Park. We are here after the first full padded practice of 2024. Josh Downs with us. Josh, the defense tends to hype this day up. The offense, how do you view day 1 in full pads?
I view it the same as any other day, honestly. I mean, it's the pads be a little tight at first, so that's the main thing. Just getting loose, you feel a little tighter, you feel a little slower at first, but once you get going, it's football. But I always got to just remember, like, I've been playing football since I was 6 years old, so going on like 16 years, so putting on pads is really nothing new. But it's fun to just really feel like football season is here. That's the best thing.
How do you describe seeing Kenny Moore opposite you? So many reps out there. It just seems like you two, I mean, make each other better.
Yeah.
I know it's cliche, but it's just a fun matchup to watch, frankly.
Nah, it is. It's fun. Going against Kenny, top 3 nickel in the league, best nickel in the league to me. So every time I go against him, I know it's work. So yeah, I never take it lightly. I know that every rep I got to go against him. I can't have a rep where I'm like, I'm gonna run a decent route here. Nah, I know every rep got to be 100%. Every route got to be 100% because I know if it's not, he's gonna be on my back hip. So going against Kenny, it makes me better, and he really makes the game easier.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan. Let me follow up with that. Besides Kenny Moore, we know he is entrenched there, the defensive backfield. What have you seen? That's obviously between corner and safety. There are some jobs that are kind of up for grabs, some reps that are up for grabs. What have you seen from those 2 particular units thus far?
Kenny, of course, excellent. Justin Blackman, Julian Blackman, I'm tripping, excellent as well. Ball hawk, great safety. Ronnie Harrison as well. Ronnie's a great safety. I like all our corners as well. Jalen Jones playing excellent. He's really tall, strong, fast corner. Juju as well. I like Juju, Dallo. All 3 of them are balling out. And then 33 as well with Micah Abraham. He came in there. He's been playing well. So I like him too. But, I'd say Kenny and JB, I tell them all the time going against them is different because they're one of the best strong safety nickel combos in the league. And then Nick Cross back there as well. He's very fast. He's very strong. So we got a good secondary. I'm excited to see what they do this year.
It's year 2 for Josh Downs, obviously number 1 in the program. He's with us here live at Grand Park. Josh, I was hoping we could nerd out a little bit over the wideout position. We hear slot, and then you obviously have guys that are outside. Mm-hmm. Skill set-wise, and I know you're primarily slot here, but what is different about line up in the slot versus if you did line up outside?
Yeah, slot, typically a nickel more so kind of shorter, stockier, faster, quicker guy. Similar to myself, going outside more of a tall, lanky guy, but I feel like I have the skill set to play both, honestly. I was out there doing releases with the corners 15 minutes ago, and I feel like I can do that with them all the time. So I feel like even though I play primarily in the slot, me being an overall receiver and not just like a gadget guy, it helps me because I can run routes on anybody.
What are keys? Like, I'm in the slot, I need to focus on this. If I'm outside, I need to focus on this.
Yeah, slot, you got to weave through it. You got to weave in and out of a lot of people. Like, I'm worried about linebacker, safeties, and nickels at the same time. I ran a shadow today. EJ tried to take my head off. He was a little upset about something, but
no shock there, right?
He tried to take my head off, but I dodged him. But just stuff like that. In the slot, you run it through the middle. You got dudes like linebackers. They already look at you as small. I'm ready to take this little dude head off. So I like it because they play over aggressive, make them miss, stuff like that. And then outside is more so one-on-one. If not that, maybe you get in a bracket, cover 2 cloud. But I definitely say outside more so one-on-one. It's just mano-y-mano. Sometimes in the slot it is mano-y-mano too. So you get a mix of both.
Who's your favorite slot receiver that you've watched a lot growing up? You got one?
Honestly, I would say my favorite receiver growing up was Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. They played inside and outside, but mostly outside. I mean, I like watching both of them. I like Christian Kirk, though. Christian Kirk, very excellent player to me. Love watching him play. Cooper Kupp, excellent player. I love watching dudes like that. But I say most similar to me, probably Christian Kirk. So Yeah, Reggie Wayne always tells me to watch him a lot.
Okay.
Because he says he's a very good player.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan on this Wednesday. You know, man, you hit the ground running last year. It looked like, you know, I remember early analysis was it looked like you'd been in the NFL more than just being a rookie. From last year to this year, how much more comfortable are you, and why are you better this year than you were last year, do you think?
Yeah, for one, I'm healthy. Last year I kind of had like a knee issue nagging me since college, so I dealt with that the whole season and preseason. So I never really had an off season last year to get faster, stronger, more explosive. I really just rehabbed and then played the first game. So I really didn't have no time to really like get better as a player. I was playing off raw talent, God-given talent there. I was blessed to play the whole season. But yeah, this year had surgery and a little scope in January. Got my knee right. And I feel excellent now. Reggie was telling me I look faster, more explosive, and stronger. And I was telling him it's just because I'm healthy. So I got to give thanks to God for that. And then, two, second year in the offense, I mean, I know things better. I'm not thinking about the route when they call the play. I'm more so just looking at what the defense is going to do. I know the play before it's even called. And then at this point, it's just building chemistry with 5. Second year with him, more comfortable with him. I mean, that's my dog.
I want to get to Anthony Richardson in a second, but you bring up your health from year one. I go back to that New England game.
Yeah.
You're limited. You can describe it however you want to, but you only play, what, third downs?
I only play like 12 plays, like 10 third downs, something like that.
Okay, walk us through that week and then the catch to ice the game. Because, you know, when Gardner threw it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, boy, is this too far? And you go full extension there. So were you always a lock to play that week? And then walk us through that play.
Nah, so really, Isaiah McKenzie was taking all the 1 reps that week. I wasn't even practicing. I was on the side. I had to do something with my knee, so I was basically not practicing all week. I was sitting on the side, and I was talking to the special teams coordinator, Joe, and he was asking me, "Are you gonna play this week?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Don't be soft." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What you?" I'm like, "Ain't nobody being soft." I'm like, so basically, we get to Germany. I'm still not really practicing or nothing like that. We get out there the first day. We get loose. I felt all right because they wanted me to. So I felt out there. I got off the plane. And then the next day, they basically took me on the side and was like, run a few sprints. And I did some ladder drills, ran like 4 30-yard sprints. And Coach Shane came up to me and was like, so we going or what? And I was like, I couldn't say no. I was like, yeah, I got you. I was like, I got you 15 plays. And he's like, all right, say no more. So it was a very powerful game for me. I mean, I really just held on to my faith that game. I was talking to my dad a lot, talking to the team chaplain. I prayed with the team chaplain and Sam the night before the game, long, probably like 10, 15-minute prayer, just over my knee, over health. And, yeah, that play iced the game, and probably the biggest catch of my career so far was that one. So it was very powerful to me. And, yeah, it was third down. I came in, and they ran a bracket. They bracketed me and Pitt on both sides. And scramble drill, Garner was dancing around back there. And I just went deep, and I knew he was going to throw it, and I laid out for it. So,
do you feel the knee at all?
Nah, I ain't feel the
all
knee.
Adrenaline right
yeah,
there.
not at that moment he did.
Nah, all adrenaline.
Maybe
yeah.
after.
Yeah.
We know you and Anthony have been close really ever since you guys got drafted. For our fans out there, something that we don't know about Anthony Richardson.
Oh, that's y'all don't know. Y'all know a lot. I mean, he raps. He's I mean,
is he good?
Yeah, he's good. They play his music before practice every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
He I mean, y'all know he can hoop. I don't know if he likes basketball just as much as football or more, but he loved basketball. I know he loved hooping. We was doing a little 3-point contest out there in California. I got him though. I mean, just so y'all know, I beat him. But yeah, we did a little 3-point contest out there. Yeah, AR like basketball. He like doing everything.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan on this Wednesday. You've been back there again today when you guys did kickoff return practice. Do you like the new rule, and how much do you think you can help this team and possibly be a part of the new kickoff rule in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Flowers, dynamic returner as well. So he going to start it. But if I got to go back there, it is what it is. I feel like it's a cool, different kind of rule. It allows you to kind of play like a regular play. The dude's not just screaming downfield 100 miles per hour.
It was a dead play in the NFL.
Yeah,
you kicked the ball off, you got the ball, yeah.
Nobody wanted to go. Nobody was trying to do that. But now, I mean, I like it. It gives you a chance to really get the ball to the 30, 40, 50-yard line, possibly break one to the end zone. So I know the guys are real excited about it. Dallas always talking about it.
Is he the best at it, you think?
I mean, I'll say he's the best at it, yeah.
Okay.
He loves kick return. He got a real passion for it. If they need me to go back there, it's 2 returners, so it could be me and him and Doolin. You never know. We got dudes back there that can go. So
Just a couple of minutes left here with Josh Downs again, live at Grand Park. First full padded practice just wrapped up. If you could take a skill set from any wideout in your room, who would you take it from, and what would the skill set be?
Ooh, any skill set. I ain't gonna lie. I'll probably take some from AD. AD got some crazy speed. AD really fast. I like it, and he got wiggle. Even though I got wiggle too, AD has a little. We got two different type of wiggle. I'm more quick, twitchy wiggle. 1, 2, blah, blah. AD's more of like a kind of like a noodle wiggle, but he fast too. So I would take AD. I would take AD speed, even though I'm fast.
Now,
he just 4-3.
Pitt told us the releases of AD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, top of the route. He said top of the route releases.
Early release and then top of the route breaking away. I think that was Pitt's answer on that.
I would take his more so his speed.
Okay.
I'll take my.
You think he's gonna be pretty good?
I think he'll be good. Yeah, but I'll take my top of the route.
What have you seen between? I know he AD and Pierce have kind of been rotating. What have you seen with that battle between those two guys? Those guys seemingly splitting a lot of reps here today.
Nah, I told Alec yesterday. I said I like this AP right here. AP's out there playing well. He's balling. I told him I'm proud of him because he's out there battling. He ain't just giving it up. So I told AP I was proud of him. But AD is an excellent player as well. So I mean, I'm excited for both those guys. They both real fast, tall. AP got really good speed as well. I should have said that. AP got real good speed as well. But yeah, they going at it. But it's a healthy competition, similar to me and Isaiah McKenzie last year. Isaiah McKenzie was like a big brother to me. So more so just like he was helping me more than anything, even though he knew like we're going at it for this starting job. So I see them the same kind of way. They're going at it, but at the same time, it's not like, hey, this is my rep. And you back up. Like, it's more so just like they just brothers out there working.
Josh, we'll end with this. Individual goals.
Mm-hmm.
What are those individual goals in year 2 for you? Obviously, a really nice rookie season. Are you an individual goal guy? I know Michael Pittman Jr. is. Are you an individual goal guy?
Yeah, no, boo.
And Jim Bob, his other dad.
No, all right.
It is Michael Pittman Jr. for those unfamiliar with that voice.
Jim Bob is his dad, and Chris Ballard is his dad as well. But anyways,
nice
for
payday
me,
from Chris Ballard.
you feel me? For me, just I feel like if I connect with 5, everything gonna fall into place. And I feel like right now 5, he like throwing me the ball. So I would just say for me, just be better than last year. And with that, I know that should explode. So
numbers come, but
numbers
you're not
gonna come. I don't want to just be like, hey, I want 100 yards a game, because then I'm gonna be focused on the individual goal. But really, for me, it's just make more explosive plays. Because when you make more explosive plays, the underneath stuff opens up, the intermediate stuff opens up, because everybody's scared of the speed. So for me, just make more explosive plays and make a lot of people miss.
Josh, hell of a rookie season, man. It's been a nice start to camp. Congrats on that. Stay healthy, and thanks for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
That's Josh Downs live here at Grand Park.
Sir.
There he is, Josh Downs. Okay, so the things that we got to take a break. The things that we loved was his candor on the Patriots game and the injury leading up, the knee injury.
God, that was a hell of a play he made ice that game.
It was, but just the back and forth there with the staff about getting out there. Remember, he only played, 12, 15 snaps, whatever it was. So, that was interesting how much his knee maybe did hamper him. I mean, are we going to get, a faster, a quicker Josh Downs? He seems to think that's the case. And I loved him getting close. You couldn't see it, obviously. He got close to the microphone, and he did kind of whisper, Chris Ballard is Michael Pittman's daddy. I'm like, well, he wants to give you all that guaranteed money, baby. Yeah, that's the way it works.
I think Josh Downs is the Julian Blackmon of the offense.
Okay.
A guy that we just don't talk about enough and just does his job. It might not be in the most boisterous way possible, but just is a solid, important piece to this puzzle. Again, might not be the flash of some other guys, might not be as demonstrative as some other guys, but just is a good football player.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. That was some real fun stuff with Josh Downs. Hopefully after practice today, we'll get to have a conversation with EJ Speed, so we'll be playing that tomorrow. We're going to push Stephen Holder back a little bit to about 8:30.
Talk about this trade up, right?
We do. I mean, the Colts last night, if you saw Hard Knocks, they wanted to trade up to 6. Where the Giants picked wasn't Malik Neighbors, and then I have a thought on Chris Ballard. I'm sure you do as well. We'll get to all of that around the corner. Hour number 2 coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It is a gorgeous start here to this Wednesday morning, live at Grand Park. We're in Westfield, Indiana. It's practice number 5 of 12 for the Indianapolis Colts. Getting a 90-minute session today, beginning at 10 a.m. Stephen Holder going to join us here coming up at 8:30. Certainly Latu had quite the start to the full padded sessions yesterday. We'll get to Latu's day in just a second. But Andy Sweeney last night, thanks to your Giants, and boy, I feel like this Hard Knocks with your Giants has led to a lot of these viral clips.
Yeah, not all of them good.
You know, Chris Ballard certainly hinted at this on draft night, and we'll play this Ballard audio here in just a second. But, you know, Ballard was asked on draft night how serious were the trade-up thoughts from number 15 overall, if at all. You know, again, the draft played out where the first 14 picks were all offense back in April. And Ballard went out of his way not only to say they were serious, but it almost felt like he was proud of it. You know, he wanted, really wanted, the public to know about that. He was asked, and again, you're going to hear the audio in just a second. He was asked like another question after his answer, and he went back to the original question just to reiterate that they did move up there. Again, Mark, let's go ahead and cue this up. This was Chris Ballard on draft night. We heard the exact details of it last night on Hard Knocks. But let's go back to draft night. Chris Ballard, his answer on if the Colts had some thoughts about trading up.
We had some serious discussions, yes.
You mentioned the other day kind of the push and pull.
With big offers, by the way. So we made a push. Just didn't – you got to get two to tango, man. Nobody was moving. And there's some good players up at the top of the draft. So, when you're sitting there, you ask yourself, okay, is it worth moving back to 15 and missing out on one of those? We were fortunate back in 18 when we just were able to kick 3 spots back and still get, a premium player in Quentin.
All right, so let me ask you guys this. This is the conversation that we had earlier on in the show. You hear that from Chris Ballard, and if you're a Colts fan, is it a black or white issue with you? In other words, Ballard didn't get it done, so you don't care that something like this leaks? Do you think, KB, there are Colts fans that hear this and they at least like that Ballard was being aggressive? Again, they were going to offer basically a pick swap with the Giants. Colts move up to 6. Giants move back to 15. And then they were going to offer a second-rounder and then a second-rounder next year as well. I mean, I think the other conversation that comes to mind is, could Chris Ballard, was there, we only heard of just a couple seconds, and we did not hear last night in Hard Knocks Chris Ballard's voice at all. It was all the Giants GM, his side of the phone with Joe Shane. I wonder if there's fans that sit here today and say, I wish that Ballard would have offered a little bit more. Listen, I think they were going up and they were trying to get Malik Neighbors from LSU. That's who the Giants ended up taking. Brian Daboll, the head coach there, was obsessed with him, and they really wanted him. I said earlier, the Giants were in a bad spot. They weren't bad enough to get a quarterback. They didn't want to drop back and maybe get a tad lesser player. Latu goes at 15. The Giants already are paying 3 and 4 defensive linemen big money. So I don't know. If you're a Colts fan, you hear that. Did you want them to offer more? And then with Chris Ballard, a lot of times it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't do anything, you're going to be crushed. If you try to make a move and nobody else wants to make a move with you, maybe there's some consternation there as well. But I think, it was interesting. It was a revelation last night. And I think Ballard, last thing I'll say on it, I think Ballard, for not being able to move up and get a wide receiver, whether that's Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, I think it's clear-cut they would have probably picked Neighbors. I think Ballard did a good job of getting good players even though they didn't get exactly maybe what they wanted. Does that make sense? I mean, Latu's going to play a ton this year, and I would imagine this year A.D. Mitchell turns into a really good NFL wide receiver. That's the hope. What do you make of it?
Well, I think with Ballard at this point, 8 years into it, so many people are just black or white.
Yeah.
Either they
That's how I
still
feel.
agree with Ballard or they hate everything he does. And I really, really tried to separate each of these moves individually and evaluate them for what they are. And as someone that has long been an advocate for improving the wideout room, I do commend Ballard on the effort of it. And I tend to think the trade offer was a substantial trade offer. I get why the Giants would have hesitancy moving all the way back to 15, as Ballard alluded to. You know, Ballard references that Sam Darnold 2018 draft where the Jets came up on St. Patrick's Day. They traded with the Colts from 6 to 3. The Colts moved back from 3 to 6, and the Colts still got in their eyes a premium player and got a great haul in moving back 3 spots. So I guess let's start here. For those that missed the clip last night on Hard Knocks, Joe Schoen, the Giants GM, he relays the trade offer. Like you said, we didn't hear Ballard's voice, but he relays this from the Colts. The Colts are offering 15 overall, 46 overall, which was their second-round pick, and then the future second in 2025. Now, how that ended up playing out with trade backs, if you want to plug players into what those picks ended up looking like, remember the Colts traded back from 46 in the second round. They traded back 6 spots. Still took A.D. Mitchell at 52, but it would look like this. You would trade up to 6, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure I quote Mike Chappell correctly on this, Chap, if you're in your car at this hour, which I know this is up early for you. We greatly appreciate you listening.
Hey, you got to get up early to get to Colts camp, okay? Let's go.
Especially from Beech Grove territory.
You're damn right.
I believe Chap said Malik Neighbors was the one that the Colts were going up for, not Roma Dunze. It was Malik Neighbors.
See, I didn't see Mike say that, but, I mean, Neighbors, to me, it's clear cut. He was the second guy behind
and that's who the Giants
Jr.
took at 6.
And that's who the Giants were in. Yep.
So this would be a trade for Malik Neighbors, okay? You're giving up Latu.
Yep.
And let's not go hindsight. Folks, hindsight is 2020. We've seen Latu so far. We've seen that become season-ending injury. Let's try to separate that.
So you want to put people back at, like, on
which is
draft
impossible
night.
to do. But
On
let's
draft
go back
night,
to
people
draft
would have
night.
loved this.
Because I think people, honestly, were very torn on the Latu pick when it happened.
I would agree with you.
I think I was semi in the minority of someone that actually liked the Latu pick on that night. Okay. Latu, A.D. Mitchell, and then these are trade backs. Anthony Gould, wide receiver out of Oregon State, Jalen Simpson, corner/safety out of Auburn, Micah Abraham, corner out of Marshall, and then let's call the future second someone like Juju Brents or someone like Dayo Adengbo or Alec Pierce. I'm trying to think of recent second-round picks this franchise has had. So when you lay it out like that, Andy, and if I did the impossible and said, remove your hindsight, you would do this, right?
I would. Listen, I think
you would have traded for Neighbors.
1,000%. In fact, we would have walked in.
You think he's that big of a difference from A.D.
We
Mitchell?
would have been itching to be on the air the next day, honestly. I mean, you tell me. It would have been, and especially for you, having questioned Chris Ballard over the years on the wide receiver position, I think Colts fans would have absolutely been just tickled happy. I mean, they would have been doing backflips. I think Chris Ballard and the Colts would have received a ton of national attention on this. I wonder if people would view them differently if Malik Neighbors were on the team, and if you had, you know how strong this is, just a couple social media posts of Malik Neighbors making a couple big-time plays. He's had that in Giants camp with kind of a crappy Daniel Jones. I think the rhetoric on the Colts would be different had they went out and got Malik Neighbors. Let me ask you something. When you listed all those players, why are we listing all the players? I guess that's my question. I mean, they would have given up Latu, and they would have given up A.D. Mitchell. I mean, we know that.
Well, because when they traded back from 46 to 52, they got
they got a couple
two additional
extra
picks. That's why I listed the full trade.
So I mean, I think
you're removing all those players from your roster.
I think that's what's difficult is what else would they have done, right? Would they have said, okay, now we got to be aggressive here. We're going to move up again. We move back and we get even more picks. I think that to me, I think the depth that they got in this draft with a couple guys that are already out here playing, right? Whether it be linebacker, defensive back, a couple offensive linemen, especially with Ryan Kelly kind of up in the air. I think Ballard did, again, I'm going to go back. Ballard, I think, did a good job just looking at the draft, and these guys have not played. I think he did a good job on plan B. I think plan A was, and it might have been a shot in the dark, was let's move up. Let's go get Neighbors. Obviously, Harrison Jr. wasn't going anywhere. Let's go get somebody like a Malik Neighbors, and I like that thinking. I would have been sold on that thinking. But then I have now been presented plan B, and I think for the most part, plan B is going to be okay. I think A.D. Mitchell, they got extremely good value with A.D. Mitchell. Is he Malik Neighbors? Probably not. I mean, didn't have the college career, obviously. And then, we've talked about it. I was an I don't know with Latu. I got to be honest, and it was not the guy that I was expecting them to take. We sit here going into practice 5, and, we have 13 clips here in our sound bank, and all of them seemingly are about Latu, right? Which is a very good thing. I expect him to be an above-average edge rusher and can get maybe to that double-digit sack effort that's been difficult for the Colts to do. So, man, I got to be honest. I give Ballard some credit for trying to do this. I wonder if there are some fans who are like, hey, sweeten the pot even a little bit more if you really, really liked Malik Neighbors. I don't think the Giants were moving off that. They could not tell their fan base, hey, we're moving back to go get, a second-round pick next year when the GM doesn't know if he's even going to be there.
I want to get to Latu's full padded day in just a second, but one more on this wide receiver trade up front. What does this mean for next offseason?
In what way now?
Is this still as urgent in Ballard's mind as he clearly felt it was back in April? Or does A.D. Mitchell calm some of that?
Yeah, it's too early.
Drafting at 15 versus theoretically you hope to be drafting in the 20s next year. Does that change some of it? By all accounts, it was a very generational top of the wide receiver class. What do we have, 3 go in the first 9? That's not a given every year. When we get to next spring, and I get it, it's probably a dumb question. I need to let the season play out. I need to let A.D. Mitchell see how he performs, Alec Pierce see how he performs. But, should this be a little bit more on our radar than maybe it was this time last spring?
I think it was more of like you see the generational talent that was at the wide receiver position, and maybe he's projecting out a couple seasons now and was like, well, this is our best shot to get a top-flight wide receiver as opposed to the next upcoming drafts. So I could see where he was a little more aggressive in this draft. Maybe doesn't feel the same about the upcoming draft class in 2025.
Well, I would say it does not until we get the data, right? Until we get the data of this season. I mean, I think this is a big year for a guy like Alec Pierce. Is he an NFL wide receiver? I mean, I think, if Anthony Richardson and even when Joe Flacco, if he has to play, I mean, I think that's what we're trying to answer. I mean, we know the guy can block. He's had some downfield moments. But for the most part, I mean, Alec Pierce would not make every roster in the NFL. I mean, him being a second-round pick, obviously you're going to stick with the guy. You're going to try to make it work.
And I'll continue to make the IndyCar analogy with Alec Pierce. I think Pierce has shown in his career that he has a skill set, and he's just on a bad IndyCar team. And what happens if he goes to Ganassi or Penske?
Could be.
And is that Richardson's arm? Now, again, it's been very quiet out here through 4 days, and it's been quiet for A.D. Mitchell.
It has.
To be frank.
Have they had 2 catches each from Anthony? It's 2 or 3. It's 2 or 3 each.
And it's nothing really of note. And it's nothing, down the field in the 11-on-11 settings there. I want to go to Latu's day yesterday.
Can I give you one more thing? Just quickly, looking at the 2025, Luther Burden, who is going to be a name.
Oh, gosh. Are we going mock draft for 2025?
I'm not totally, but, I guess I'm looking at it. Luther Burden out of Missouri. Oh, stop it. If someone put a 2025 mock draft out, you guys act like you wouldn't click on it. KB, you'd click on it. Come on. You click and scroll down. Hey, where they got the Colts. Everyone loves a mock draft. But Isaiah Bond, another guy there that's coming from Texas. Egbuku, is that how you say his name? Ohio State. I mean, he's going to be a first-round pick. But Luther Burden, it's a nice class. But right now, I don't feel it's anywhere close to kind of the first 4 guys that we got taken last year.
I will summarize Latu so far this offseason.
Okay.
I don't remember Kwity Paye ever doing this. I don't remember Kamoko Toure or Ben Banogu or some of these other young rushers. And if I can take it a step further, I don't recall many times any Colts edge rusher has strung together the boxes you need to check here on July 31st. We've had 1 full padded practice, Andy Sweeney. We've yet to play a preseason game.
I know.
There are bigger evaluation points, but we can only talk about what we've seen so far. And so far, he continues to flash. And yesterday, what impressed me, two things. One, he did some of it against Bernhard Raimann. And two, he does it from both sides of the line. And I think that is so huge. You know, Kwity Paye is primarily only opposite right tackle. Your Kwity Paye right now is benefiting from feasting on, Blake Freeland for a lot of these reps. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Raimann, I think, is a quality left tackle. What's Latu look like over there? And sure enough, late in practice yesterday, 11 on 11 reps.
Got him.
And Latu would have sacked Richardson, I think, twice on the play. So, again, that is what has stood out to me. And I thought the Bernhard Raimann comment yesterday after practice about Latu in the run game was interesting as well. Because that kind of is a little bit of a question mark in my mind of now with Samson Ebukam out, how much can you put on Latu's plate from a run game standpoint? And Raimann kind of went out of his way to say that, he's so twitchy, it's hard to just kind of grab him or get a hold of him.
Do you want to hear that, by the way?
In the run game, sure.
Yeah, Mark cut that during the break.
Up.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
What's been your impression of Latu so far throughout camp?
I mean, he's a great player right now, but he's just getting better and better every day. From what I've heard, he's a great rookie too. He's doing what he's told to do. So he's getting all the snags and everything. No, but on the field, seriously, he's impressive. He seems to fit right in with the defense. He's quick, he's physical, he fits the run game. It's hard to block him in the run game because he's so twitchy, and then same in the pass pro as well. You gotta be.
Again, Raimann just
kind of bring your A game again.
Yeah. That is not, him asked specifically about Latu in the run game. He offers that up. Now, the next question is this, and something we'll ask Stephen Holder here in about 10 minutes. Okay, what are rookie expectations for Latu? Because I think people will be surprised when you just fully realize the lack of early rookie production that you get from these pass rushers. I get it's a very hard position to transition to in the NFL. But, Andy, in the last decade, we've only had 5 guys in the entire league have 10 sacks or more as a rookie. Let me give you those 5 names.
Yeah, listen to these names, people. Yeah, they're pretty good players.
Micah Parsons, Bradley Chubb, Max with 2 X Crosbys. That I will tell Max Bowen one day it's either Max Homer or Max Crosby he's named after. I think I'm going to go with Crosby.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hope
Do you
it's
think that Max Bowen will ask for the tattoos?
Yeah, those are 2 very different people,
Very different.
2 very different personalities.
No, professional athletes, though.
Yes, yeah.
Josh Allen. Now, he's changed his name, right? He's added Hines in his name, I believe.
Yes.
That's Jaguars Josh Allen.
Right.
And then one Nick Bosa. Parsons, Chubb, Crosby, Allen, Bosa. It's a nice little quintet of names there. Those are your double-digit sack guys. And, Andy, if we want to look at it from a Colts standpoint, Kwity Paye's rookie sack number, 4. Kamoko Ture's rookie sack number, 4. Ben Banigou's rookie sack number, 2.5. Terrell Basham's rookie sack number 2. We got to go to Ball State. We got to chirp it with Jonathan Newsom and 6.5 sacks for him to find anybody I guess you'd even put of note. So I bring up that to say, man, for Latu, I'll probably go with a little bit more gray area and just say, can you give me the consistent rushing? Because, again, that's what Paye I don't think has given you. But if this is a guy that all of a sudden gives you 9, 10 sacks as a rookie, you're talking about one of the better NFL rookie rushers in the last decade.
Yeah, I looked it up. Aiden Hutchinson a couple years ago had 9.5, so he was right there, close to 10. Well, let me ask you this. Does it matter, should it matter if he's the starter compared to, and this is how I'm almost feeling with some of the Alec Pierce and A.D. Mitchell conversation, does it matter if they're the starter or when we get right down to it, do the amount of snaps they get matter more?
Snaps. I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Because we're going to talk about the starting job.
Is he running out of the tunnel or not? Yeah. I don't care, but I get why people care.
But fans do care, yeah. I'm with you.
But I don't.
I think, it's interesting. With the data that we have, Latu, I used this analogy an hour and a half ago. Latu got to the point to where it felt like he was like a relief pitcher a little bit, that there's so many defensive linemen and they have so many riches at defensive line that you could, in high leverage situations on third downs, obvious passing downs, you could use Latu. I just see it maybe now totally the other way. Like, why not Latu? Listen, if your starting left tackle, who you think a lot of, is telling you, hey, this guy can play the run, And we know that he is, twitchy enough, fast enough, quick enough, whatever term we want to use, to be able to get to the quarterback. We know that's something he's good at. Listen, I don't care if a guy's been in the NFL 8 years, 4 years, 3 years, or if it's his rookie year. If this guy wins the opportunity, if he's better than guys that have been drafted by this team, by the Colts, guys that have been out there on the field, if he's better than them, I want to see him play, and I think that will ultimately win out. For me, I felt like we have went from myself. We've talked about him in 35 starting the season, 40% of the snaps. Maybe that number's way off to where I am seeing him now. He's a first-round draft pick. Get out there and play. I think we're starting to see that. I can't wait. And Steichen talked about this yesterday, seeing him in a preseason game, seeing him against somebody else.
Let's expand on this more in the 9 o'clock hour, and I'll give you some time to think about it.
Okay.
Does the Ebicom injury, does that change your indispensable list at all? If we go back to the exercise we did a couple weeks ago, we listed our indispensable Colts.
Good question.
And don't think just Latu and Kwity Paye.
Sure.
Think Buckner, too.
Sure.
Right now, and again, Titus Leo, a guy that, was probably a fringe roster player, but to some, I think he was starting to come on a little bit at 6'5". He gets carted off the field yesterday with a knee injury. So, there's a lot of depth on that D-line.
They've taken some hits, though.
But, it's July 31st. I mean, we're not halfway through camp.
No.
So, would your indispensable list change at all? That could be something we do coming up at 9. Stephen Holder going to join us in a little over 5 minutes. Did want to mention yesterday just a couple other items from practice. Typically, Andy, when they throw the full pads on, it is a heavy run focus on that first day, kind of a quieter day throwing it. Anthony Richardson, we're about 90 minutes in the show. We've yet to really mention Richardson. He was 4 of 6. So, again, a quieter day throwing for him. Pittman had a drop on what I thought was a really beautiful, kind of a rifle, though, on one of those kind of slant timing routes. I think Pittman would call that a drop. And then Ronnie Harrison Jr., who was taking some starting reps in place of Nick Cross at free safety. A little competition there, a little bit. Still think Cross is the favorite. He batted down a screen pass. So those were the 2 incompletions yesterday for Richardson. So, again, kind of a quieter day, really a big run day. I thought they busted a couple of them. I know the headlines can get juicy when they see Michael Pittman Jr. involved in an extracurricular post-play.
Second day in a row.
If I could be a boxing grader on this, my Russian judge here, I would call yesterday a scuffle. I'd call a fight on Friday, on Sunday between Jalen Jones and Michael Pittman Jr. And we'll ask EJ Speed when he joins us here after practice. We'll ask EJ Speed to grade it. I'd call yesterday between Mr. Pittman and Mr. Speed a scuffle and not a fight.
I'm trying to find this on Twitter. My internet's not working out here, but I did love the tweet yesterday.
Oh, the Zaire Franklin one?
From Zaire Franklin.
I got it pulled up.
Oh, he's like, go ahead and read it. He's like, Pitt's been in 2 fights now.
So Pitt was on the Colts podcast yesterday, and J.J. Stankovitz asked him, okay, who would you classify as a badass in the NFL?
Yeah.
Who you play against?
Oh, yeah.
And Pitt said Zaire.
Yeah.
And I know, maybe, the thought was looking for an opponent, but, he named Zaire Franklin. So Zaire, thanks Michael Pittman Jr. on Twitter, calls him his, WR1, but then adds this. Zaire says, also let the record show that Pitt has fought 2 days in a row, and I've been a man of my word and not gotten into any extracurricular activities, yet.
I love him. I love him and EJ Speed. It's the most football thing. I was listening to JJ interview while we were sitting around, Michael Pittman Jr., and all the this is like it is in most NFL situations. But there aren't too many lines of work, KB, to where you can fist fight on a field and then, oh yeah, did you guys take that back and have beef afterwards? Oh no. No, we're good. We're fine. We're just gonna battle, punch each other.
It might have been the very next rep. They happened to be in coverage. Speed happened to be, on his own assignment where Pittman was in his area. Yeah.
Very nice. It's just funny.
Are you saying if you and I, brawled right now,
exactly.
it'd be Jack taking over next segment here at
it'd be one
Park?
of those things. Now, we'll be fine for Thursday's show. We just punched each other in the face a couple times and, MF'd each other. Not a big deal.
Stephen Holder in 5, an Olympic update here in just a second. Andy Sweeney, lead off the morning check down wherever you'd like.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Yeah, like we do. Let's start this morning check down with some Colts sound from training camp from yesterday. Shane Steichen meeting with the media. We've talked so much about Latu. Might as well stick with him. His motor in the draft process. He's always on the go. Shane Steichen talked about that yesterday.
You watch all these rushers in the draft, and they're all talented, but his motor that he had after plays, you could see it. You know what I mean? Even if he gets around the edge and the quarterback steps up, boom, he is turning and running and trying to go get him. And that's what really stood out to me about him was his relentless effort.
All right, so there's Shane Steichen. Let's get to Tyquan Lewis. I thought he was interesting meeting with the media yesterday. Obviously, his playing time, he and Latu will be fighting for some snaps there with Ebukam out. And he said, Latu, fantastic. Smart kid, knows what he's doing on the field. Here's Tyquan Lewis yesterday.
Like I said, he's eager to learn. He if he makes a mistake, it's like a quick, no like hesitation. Like, I got to fix this right now. It's always, I got you, big bro. I got you. And he's an intelligent kid. It's really exciting to see him be like that.
Mark, you got to dial up the Tyquan Lewis audio of him in the ocean. Do you have that up there?
I do have it.
This is okay. What?
Yeah, it's on there.
Mark, do you have this? This is great, just absolute Tyquan Lewis audio like none other about the variety of roles he wants to play for this Colts team.
Whatever they need, don't matter to me, man. I could.
Comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable wherever you put me. You can put me anywhere. You can put me in the middle of the ocean. I can't swim, but I'll try.
How great is that?
I mean, it's fantastic.
Put me in the middle of the ocean. I can't swim, but I'll try.
Someone needs to teach him how to swim. Come on, let's go.
That is great. Now, are we putting him in the river in France?
Oh, no.
Is the river good? Are they doing the triathlon this morning?
Yes.
Rico's giving us updates nightly on
is
Tarico?
Mark,
I saw them swimming
idea?
in it, and people are like, isn't there poo in there? Like, what are they doing? But, yeah, there's a ton of people in there.
I mean, let's be honest. We all swim, worse, right?
I mean, I know people that listen, my wife has swam in the Ohio
Johnny's
River.
little turd back in, when you were 5 years old waiting for Adult Swim to finish. Mark, do you have the Olympic music?
Hit the Olympic music. By the way, we reported something. The men's 3-on-3 also lost yesterday.
Jimmer lost
along with the women. So
I don't get the
we send our
3-on-3
best out there.
How is that
I
the
don't
best
either.
we're sending out there with Jimmer for that?
It's the dumbest thing in the entire
Someone does
Olympics.
need to explain that one to me. Some unbelievable theatrics yesterday. Women's rugby getting the bronze medal. What do we say? Spiff Cedric? Is that her name on the birth certificate? What a great rugby name.
I would imagine
she
so.
She truck sticks some Australian woman and then takes off 90-some yards the other way on the final. I know nothing
effort.
about rugby.
No, it's the final play of the game.
I'm calling it the final play of the game. And we win bronze, and Australia goes home heartbroken, which we need to beat Australia. We can't beat them in the pool.
No.
We need to beat them on the pitch.
We're not beating them in field hockey at the
rugby.
moment either. They're whooping us 2-0.
Oh. Gosh, which unfortunately I think that's a whooping in field hockey. Women's gymnastics, again, I know nothing, but they won by 6 points. And from what I've told, that is an absolute butt whooping by Simone Biles and company. I believe Italy was the runner-up there, the silver medalist in women's gymnastics. USA, South Sudan today, 3 o'clock, so that'll be the second game for Team USA. Again, Steve Kerr mentioned Jason Tatum will play. We'll see about Tyrese Halliburton. Emphasis on we'll see.
Does Halliburton play? What do you think?
Yes, I'll say he does.
You know what? I'm going to say he gets a couple minutes as well.
I have no idea why I'm saying that, but I'll say.
I have nothing to base it on. The last 3 games, he hasn't done anything.
He does. And from a local angle, kind of a cool tennis match for Carmel's own Rajiv Ram coming up here later today. He is in the doubles competition, and they will face the Spaniard duo of Carlos Alcaraz and Rafa Nadal.
Pretty good.
Cool moment there for Rajiv Ram. That is a quarterfinal match, so if you want to get a medal, you got to win that one. That's certainly a marquee one here locally.
Just a couple other things, NFL items. We did mention Colts picking up linebacker Levi Bell yesterday. Had some time, cup of coffee there with the Seattle Seahawks. Another quick NFL item, Bears giving DJ Moore overnight 4 years, $110 million, $82.6 million guaranteed, the largest extension in Bears history. So that happened. And then in Major League Baseball last night, Reds over the Cubs 6-3, Cardinals over the Rangers 8-1. We'll take a break. What does he think of Latu's expectations and the Colts possibly moving up to number 6? Stephen Holder from ESPN.com. He'll join us next here on The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Fans starting to line up here at Grand Park for the second day in a row. It'll be a 10 a.m. start time. It's 9 a.m. on Friday. 10 a.m. today, 90-minute practice number 5 of 12 here at Grand Park. And let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline. Man will be out here shortly from ESPN.com. He is Stephen Holder. Stephen, certainly want to get to the day of Latu in just a second, but let's start with, I think the Hard Knocks clip that's kind of gone around from last night, and that was the Colts and their reported trade offer to move up with the Giants, number 6 overall, and try to trade up for, I assume, a wideout. I want to say Mike Chappell had Malik Neighbors as that reported name. I'm asking you to kind of go back a couple months ago. Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, do you remember any of that chatter? Certainly Ballard said to us that night that they made a serious trade offer. Then last night we heard it there of number 15, number 46, and a future second-round pick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we knew, at least according to Ballard, that they had made such an effort. He was light on details. So I think this at least gives us a little bit of context. So that's good. I guess we still can't say with absolute certainty who it was. I do trust Mike Chappell. Neighbors make sense, and certainly that's where that's where he went, I believe. So yeah, that would actually be the one that I would presume. Rome Odunze would be the other option, but yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to go to 6, you're going to get your pick there, and I think most people had Neighbors ranked ahead of Odunze, but at the same time, it was kind of like flavors, right? Which you prefer. Anyway, in terms of what it says, I think it says what we can take away from it, I guess, is that, look, they are really invested in this young quarterback. And I know that the other offseason moves might suggest to you that they didn't really invest in Anthony Richardson, but that's a pretty big swing to take. And I think you don't do that. They never do that if they don't have a young ascending quarterback. So it really, I think, is all a reflection of Anthony Richardson. Just about everything they do in some way traces back to Anthony Richardson. And this is just one of many, many things in that department.
Does it say anything to you, Stephen, about next year, or is that premature? No, A.D. Mitchell's now in the fold, and Richardson, you got to watch him develop. We'll see what happens with Alec Pierce. It's probably too early of a question, but what does it say to you, if anything at all, about next year and potentially the priority?
I don't know exactly, but here's what I think you can say is that it's the biggest swing that we know of, at least, that Chris Ballard has taken at wide receiver. There might be others we don't know about, okay? Always remember that as a listener, that we don't know what we don't know. We probably know 25% of what actually happens. I want people to understand that, okay? There's so much we don't know. We're just scratching the surface in terms of what we actually can report, right? But that being said, in terms of what we have learned over the past 8 years with Chris Ballard, I mean, that's the biggest swing that I can remember, unless I'm forgetting something, at the wide receiver position. I mean, you and him, KB, have had many back and forths about that position, about the value of that position, and we have been left to wonder how he felt about the value of that position. So I guess to answer the original question, what's it say about the future at that position, I guess they're closely watching it, and they know that it matters. So that's a good thing if you're a Colts fan and you were wondering about that. It at least, I think, addresses that question to a degree.
It definitely made me think. And I mean, Bowen, every time I freaking read or listen to Bowen, it's like a constant freaking barrage of wideouts.
Oh, yeah.
A listener and a reader.
Yeah,
Even knows those are hard to come by.
That's a P1 right there. That's what we called in the business.
Freaking Bowen.
Freaking Bowen.
That needs to be on a T-shirt. Stephen Holder from ESPN, ESPN.com with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Again, the Colts will start practice here coming up at 10 o'clock. I'm asking you to kind of go back. Last one on this, if this trade ever would have happened with Malik Neighbors, I contend that Colts fans would have just been in love right? And we talked, this is not what Ballard does. I think locally and nationally, Stephen, I think the Colts even nationally would have got, even now, would have received more love had they got Malik Neighbors. And again, this is difficult because we've seen Latu play and we see the depth that I thought Ballard did a pretty good job in this draft. What do you think your reaction would have been had they made this trade? I mean, this would have been the blockbuster of the entire draft had this went down.
I mean, picks number 15 to number 6 is that's moving from the projects to Beverly Hills. Okay, that's a huge move, right? That's huge. So yeah, you don't see that every day. It would have been it's certainly a blockbuster. The other thing is, look, Colts fans. Let's just be honest. Colts fans. I was talking about this with a colleague the other day. Colts fans love them some offense. Okay, Latu might end up being a Pro Bowler. Okay, I think that's within the realm of possibility. We'll see, but I still don't know that he'll ever be more celebrated than just a decent wide receiver in this town. You know what I'm saying? Colts fans love them some offense, so they would have been over the moon. There's no question about it, and we'll just see ultimately in the long term whether it would have worked out. I guess that would have been the other thing to remark is that would have been a very expensive trade. And you asked about the future a little bit ago. We were just talking about it. I think in terms of the wide receiver position, I also wonder what it means for the future in terms of just investment, because you're talking about giving up certainly a future first round pick there. I mean, maybe 2. I don't know. I mean, that seems it's just unbelievable to think that Chris Ballard would even have that conversation, the Chris Ballard that I know, right? So what does that say to me about, or what should it say to us about his view of his future and the fact that they do need to get somewhere in this whole thing, right? I think maybe it says something about that. I don't know. That's speculative, and that's in the eye of the beholder. I'm not saying his job is on the line, nothing like that, right? But damn it, at some point, you got to feel the pressure to win and do something big, and I think that may be at play here.
You can find his work, obviously, on ESPN. Stephen Holder, very gracious with his time on our airwaves. We appreciate him on this Wednesday morning joining us. Let's shift to yesterday, the first day in full pads, Stephen. And I know we were talking about this a little bit in the media room, and I think you kind of accurately said it. Latu is just doing things on a consistent basis that we don't really ever see from rookie rushers. And the Colts have drafted rookie rushers. It's not like they haven't. They've drafted some of them high, not as high as 15 overall. But how would you describe what we've witnessed so far with Latu? With the obvious context, it's July 31st, and we're still 10 days away from a preseason game. We're still 2 weeks away from joint practices. You can only go off of what you've seen so far. Colts versus Colts, and 1 full padded practice.
Right. So small sample size, right? And the caveat, everything we say on this program about the Colts for the next few weeks comes with the built-in caveat that none of this might pan out. Okay? Everybody understands that. They'll forget, but I'm just telling you, just don't forget that, right? All of that being said, I think the big thing to know here is that they have drafted many early pass rushers, in fact, under Chris Ballard. We know he values the defensive line. He has never, however, drafted a pass rusher like this guy. He is different. He's different athletically. His skill set's different. I just think this guy is a completely different animal than any of the guys they've drafted. The closest example, I imagine, would be Kamoko Toure. Now, he athletically was very gifted and certainly had a lot of speed and a lot of the same attributes that we talk about with Latu. One very, very, very big difference, production. Toure never had it in college. He just didn't. And it just never came in the NFL as well. He also had injuries, and that has been a factor in his career. But I just think Latu, in terms of the pass rushers they have drafted, the Colts, he's one of one in terms of the type and the profile. We talked, I think you and I did, about Kwity Paye, Kevin, yesterday. Kwity Paye, coming into the draft, had an athletic profile that was off the charts, right? He tested really, really well. That has not shown itself on the field, and that's not to say he's not a good player. I'm saying he doesn't play. His game is not, I think, based solely or mostly upon his athleticism and his athletic profile. He's definitely a guy who plays with a lot of power, and he's very physical, and all of those things. Those are things that the athletic testing don't represent nearly as well, and that's a big part of his game. But Latu, not all, but it's mostly the foremost thing is speed, ability to get off the line, the quickness. And he's also, as I thought Bernard Raymond pointed out, it's important that that we mention this, against the run, he's proven to be pretty good too, maybe surprisingly good, because he's so quick to get down the line of scrimmage. So that's an added bonus that maybe we weren't thinking about.
Stephen Holder with us from ESPN, ESPN.com. He joins us on this Wednesday on the Payless Liquors hotline. Let's stay with Latu. How do we begin to kind of craft and mold his year one rookie expectations? So, Stephen, I want to throw that your way. And then at least I think for me, and KB, you can chime in here, in 4 practices, I think Latu, in my mind, has went from like a relief pitcher maybe to potentially a starting pitcher, if I'm using a baseball analogy. How much in just a few practices has he changed your mind about how many snaps he might get early on this season with the Colts, if at all?
So I actually like that analogy a lot, because I think I actually agree. Let's put it that way. I think with the injury to Samson Ebukam, Latu has certainly become more important. Now, it's not as if they don't have other options. They have plenty of options. I mean, we just mentioned Kwity Paye. They certainly have him. They have Tyquan Lewis. They have Dayo Adengbo. They have options. And they're not going to be hurting for pass rushers. The key, though, is that you want that guy that has that fastball. And they had a guy, and Ebukam had the fastball. There's no question about it. He's out with that Achilles tear. He has a fastball, almost 10 sacks last year, 9.5. I thought he was the guy who I think kept the offensive linemen on their heels, because of the way he came off the ball. He was the guy that brought that speed dimension. So now you add Latu to that, and you figure, okay, well, the two of them would sort of split those premier pass rushing snaps, and just there are fewer of those snaps for Latu to take when you had Ebukam on the field. Now that he's not, you don't have to look as hard for places where you can strategically play Latu. I still don't think he plays all of the snaps. I still think he's a rotational player, but he's a bigger piece of the rotation, a much bigger piece of the rotation, and he's going to play, I think, a lot of the most important snaps. Because of that, and I'm talking about those long down and distance pass rushing snaps, he's going to be on the field, I would imagine. I would be shocked if he's not. And so what happens to players who get those kinds of opportunities, who are built for speed coming off the edge? They get numbers. So I would anticipate that he's going to get some numbers this year. What that number is, I mean, look, we can debate that, but there's a scenario, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I mean, there's a scenario where this guy comes out and puts 10 sacks on the board. Like, that could happen, because they're going to put him in that position, and he's going to be in those optimal situations. So it's not a promise. I'm just saying he's going to be in position to do something big like that if his fastball is what we think it is.
And as we said all morning long, 10 sacks for a rookie is nothing to scoff at. Only been done 5 times in the NFL by a first-year player in the last decade. Stephen Holder from ESPN joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Stephen, last one from me. Again, this is practice number 5. So far, I think Anthony Richardson has been really solid. We've only seen one day where he's thrown more than 6 passes, though. Like, it's kind of been a little bit of a scaled-back workload. Sunday was a very active day. I don't say that at all to say it's shoulder-related or anything like that. He's taking every starting rep. But I guess I just ask in general, Stephen, how would you describe what you've seen from Richardson so far, 4 practices in?
Well, to tackle that first topic you mentioned about the workload, I do agree. There's definitely, I think, a discernible lighter workload, if you will. But I would also say I think it's also part of a bigger trend with Shane Steichen right now. I mean, they are placing heavy emphasis on their walkthroughs. And we can debate whether that's good or bad, I give them the benefit of the doubt because this is something that they have studied and gone back and forth on all through the offseason. Shane Steichen is smart, right? He's not some kind of like softy either. So that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt. This is a guy who is relentless all the time. And if he is saying, hey, we're gonna scale back, we're not going to go that hard, and we're going to make this a real mental training camp, then I'm going to give him some benefit of the doubt and say, all right, I'll let this play out. I actually think they're onto something. They've studied it. They have the science, et cetera, right? So the benefit of that is I guess you do get some you get a little less wear and tear on your quarterback's shoulder. Now, they can do that a little bit more this year because he is not a rookie. He does need the reps. He needs every rep he can get. There's no doubt about that. But he's not a rookie. He has put in the time, and he's going to be fine, I think, from a mental perspective. I think he's going to be fine. He's made pretty good decisions. He hasn't been super careless with the ball. So I think all those things are positive. I come out of this, I'd say this, in my overall summation about what I've seen from Anthony Richardson is that I'm no less bullish about him after what I've seen over the first week. So I'm not more bullish, but I'm not less bullish. I'm pretty much in the exact same spot, which is I think he has a chance to have a really big year. But generally, I would just say he'll be a very effective quarterback, I believe, this year.
His latest is on Latu. You can find that on ESPN.com. He is Stephen Holder. Stephen, safe travels over here. We'll see you in a bit.
Okay, see you soon.
That is Stephen Holder right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. The line is getting long there, Andy Sweeney.
I see it, yeah.
Over your shoulder.
How many autographs you signing today?
10 minutes.
Do we need to switch with the Colts people here so you can be closer to the masses?
I simply wave, and I look for the people with the headsets on and think, you think they're actually listening to us? And we've had a few that have been listening.
I feel like it's 9 out of 10 are listening to us, so I feel like our hit rate on that's been really good.
Cannot believe it. It should be a steamy one. 10 a.m. start time here at Colts camp, and we'll continue to talk about a lot of it here on the other side.
All right, we'll take a break. On the other side, a Colts player was ripped off by the Madden people, or was he? We'll tell you who it was. We'll do it next, hanging out with you until 10 o'clock. Wake up call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, back here at Colts Camp, KB and Andy, Wake Up Call. We got you to 10 o'clock. Reminder, Lyn Dunn going to join us coming up at 9:30. I got to be honest, I don't know where KB went. Does Jack know? There he is.
He went to go pee. He probably got stuck in a porta potty.
He's stuck in a porta potty. He got tipped. I'm just joking. He's back. I wanted to throw this out there just quickly because I saw
a longer pee than I thought.
Well, there you go. You underestimated it.
I did.
It was a longer break or shorter break. Quickly, did you happen to see Jonathan Taylor was rated by the Madden people as the 11th best running back in the NFL? He was 11th, right behind Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 1 was McCaffrey, then Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Joe Mixon was number 5. Etienne, number 6. Josh Jacobs, 7. Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, and then Pacheco. And then comes Jonathan Taylor with a rating of 87. You know, listen, I'm not trying to be a homer here, but that's ridiculous.
You know,
and it doesn't matter, but it's ridiculous.
Some of these lists, I'm just kind of like, you know, everyone's making a big deal of this top 100 list. Again, I mean, I've seen these players vote on the top 100 list. I mean, it's like, you know, voting for your buddies for whatever homecoming court or something like that. That list is idiotic.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Behind Joe Mixon?
But Aaron Jones at this point? I mean, what are we doing? Joe Mixon?
Even Travis Etienne. I'm like, really? I don't know. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I'm
absurd.
with you. You say, well, what about injuries? Well, Nick Chubb was just injured, had a horrific injury last year. Anyway,
They're swimming through the pool water, by the way, in the Olympics right now. That's what's happening.
All right, so Mark Dighton will present us a poo water update. We'll do that in more Colts conversation. We'll do it on the other end. Lyn Dunn at 9:30, more Colts conversation. Hanging out with you one more hour. Wake Up Call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, 9 o'clock hour here, live from Grand Park. Shout out to Maggie doing wonderful work here for the Colts Public Relations Department. She's helped us out with numerous interviews. We appreciate her help. Casey Valier in the building as well. Gates opened at Grand Park. 10 o'clock start time, 90 minutes. I believe full pads back on Friday, it sounds like, here for the Colts on this Wednesday morning. Roster move just announced by the Colts. Again, this was reported yesterday. But we talked about probably needing another defensive lineman. Again, Titus Leo, 6th-round pick from a couple years ago, was carted off yesterday, Andy, with a knee injury. They've signed a guy by the name of Levi Bell. You want to take a stab at Levi Bell's most recent team?
Well, I saw the release. Now I'm forgetting. It was like the Michigan Coyotes or something like that.
Very close on the animal you've chosen in the wild.
Okay.
Instead of Coyotes, let's go Panthers.
Oh, Panthers, yeah.
Of the UFL. Now, I'm not familiar. Are we going United Football League?
Yeah, all these leagues have combined. The Rock is involved in one of them. I got to be honest. I love football. I love college football. I love the NFL. But anything other than that, I can't bring myself to caring about.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I can say I have not watched one play of the XFL.
No, I did.
Not Un.
Mark hates the CFL because of Mark Trestman.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's ridden that off
That guy stinks.
for the rest of his rest of his life.
I think Trestman was a runner-up to Chuck Pagano for the coaching hire here in
I think
2011.
I think I remember you mentioning that.
You
Well,
want to? I don't think there's anyone that has a LinkedIn page longer than Mark Trestman. You want to look at all the jobs he's had in his career? It is wild.
You are right. I do remember that. I don't know why we're talking about Mark Trestman
I know.
today.
Flacco Ravens jersey in the house
I love that.
today.
Absolutely love that.
Nice.
That man is dedicated to Joe Flacco, and God bless him.
It's family or what there on this Friday
I have no
morning?
idea. I wish it would have been a Jets Flacco jersey. That would have been a little funnier.
Our first two jerseys of the day, Flacco Ravens and Johnny Unitas here. We're starting this Wednesday morning as we should. Mark, you said someone had tweeted in about Laquan Treadwell. Did I hear that correctly? Or did
Yeah, it was a new follower to the show. He's from Florida, but he just had happened to reach out and asked. Just a new listener to the show, live in Florida and Connecticut, but enjoy the Colts coverage. Question, have you seen anything from Laquan Treadwell in camp? Love this kid in college. And I said, well, that's a great question. Let me pose it to the boys who are out there every day.
Yeah, not much so far from Treadwell specifically. I'm trying to even think maybe they're back. Our Toledo boys back.
One more day. One more day. School started.
You guys aren't going home forever. We're going to skip next year in elementary school, right?
They're moving to Indy. Yeah.
I love it. Layman and Landon in the house, August 20th here. Is that a helmet or a football?
It looks like it's
it's just a clear bag.
Oh, it's just a
My
clear bag.
eyesight's so bad. He's got a football in there ready to be signed.
I tell you, yesterday was a good day to get a couple autographs around here.
Pittman was signing a lot.
Yes,
right
he
here,
was.
Right?
Pittman was signing. A lot of kids got some autographs. So there you go.
But yeah, I have not.
I haven't seen a
much
damn thing from Laquan.
Treadwell.
I'm not
at
expecting him to be here through the preseason. Are you? I mean,
No,
if they made another roster move, if there's another injury, I would imagine he would not be here.
Seven catches in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. So
not much to say.
Yeah, nothing. And I think you just got to be honest. I would say right now, like Josh Downs, who we had on earlier, that'll be up on the podcast if you missed it. Like Josh Downs has been a super active and consistent pass catcher of Anthony Richardson. Michael Pittman Jr. would be second on that list. Andy, it's been quiet in 11-on-11 with A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce through 4 days for both of them. I have not seen a lot of 11-on-11 either catches or really targets. Sometimes it's like, hey, I've targeted the dude 3 times, but he can't create separation and make a play. I wouldn't say it's been that necessarily with Mitchell and Pierce, but so far, as they rotate a lot, one guy's with the starters one series, the next, period, the other guy's with the starters. That's kind of how it's been. I would say so far, it's been quiet, especially when you compare it back to what Mitchell was doing in the spring.
Yeah, 2 questions that I would have that I would just pose as conversation pieces. I'll go back. We had this with Latu and, Kwity Paye and some of the different guys there at defensive line. I don't care who starts, but I care what the rotation looks like, and I care how many snaps they get. Do you feel that same way at wide receiver? I feel like fans will not feel that way at wide receiver. If it comes out that in week 1, Alec Pierce is your starter, I mean, we'll look at it and say, Alec Pierce won the job. Now, I tend to think that A.D. Mitchell will pick it up as he goes this season. That's just my guess, that maybe you see Pierce early on, and as the season goes, it goes to A.D. Mitchell. But I wonder, do you care about that? Do fans care? And I think they do.
Well, again,
who's going to be the actual starter?
Yeah, I mean,
at that position.
Starter is it's a sexy term.
I know.
It stands out. It's flashy. It shows up on your, the back of the baseball card, if you will. You get announced out of the tunnel, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you want to get nerdy, let's get nerdy. It comes out of snap counts. And Andy, if you open up in a double tight end set, and Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. happen to be your wideouts in that set,
right?
Who cares? I mean, okay, so Mo Alley Cox was a starter. Well, how many snaps did he play? That, to me, is what, if we're going to nerd it, that's what
Are you surprised it doesn't feel like there's too much separation? I mean,
no, I think it's fine. I mean, let the competition play out.
I'm just saying we've went 4 days now. And, this would be practice number 5, and something could happen today. And it's funny, a couple of the things that we thought we were going to be talking about, we're not Number one, we're not micromanaging Anthony Richardson. I agreed with Stephen Holder last hour about Richardson's play, and it doesn't feel like we're doing the daily A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce update, right? We're not doing those two things, and I came in here last weekend thinking we were going to be doing both of those things.
Let the competition play out. If you're going to commit to it, commit to it. I think there's been
Which
times,
I think they've done.
I think there's been times in recent years where I think there should have been competition, and they haven't. They've just kind of gifted these guys starting jobs without having a real competition. So, I'm totally good with it. And frankly, if 4 practices in, I don't think either one has earned the right to be out-snapping the other one in a significant manner. We teased this a little bit earlier in the show. We've talked a lot about Latu, and just in general the Samson Ebukam injury and what that means. And I said to you about a half hour ago, Andy, would the Ebukam injury impact the most indispensable Colts list we did a few weeks back? And again, for those that kind of missed it, when we talk indispensable, these are the guys you can't afford to lose. They're not your best players necessarily. Obviously, they're good players, but it's not a ranking of your top 5 best players. It's the top 5 dudes you can't afford to lose. If I'm not mistaken, and I'll give my list. I don't know if you have your list in front of me.
Well, I'm trying to remember my list now from a couple weeks ago.
Okay, my list was this, from 1 to 5.
Okay.
Bernard Ryman 1,
right.
Michael Pittman Jr. 2, Julian Blackmon 3, DeForest Buckner 4, Kenny Moore 5. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you went Richardson, Ryman, Blackmon, Kenny Moore, Michael Pittman.
Yep, that's exactly what I went. Yep.
So if I can challenge you a little bit, I had Buckner 4. I see Ebukam go down and think, should I push Buckner higher? Do you have now, like if we did a new list on July 31st, would Buckner be in your top 5?
I know. I think that's the question. I think it would be, does Buckner move up to number 5, and do I move Michael Pittman down?
He doesn't play D-end, of course, but
he's a leader.
Defensive lineman and just that.
You know what?
I'm
going to – there's no wrong answer here. I'm going to tentatively say still no. Now, I might move – if I had Buckner 7 or 8, I might move him right up to 6, that he would be right there. Perhaps I think another now Deo's out, still a couple more days. Maybe another injury, or maybe a guy or two that just is not flashing the way they hoped. And right now, I don't think there's anybody that would fit that mold. I think another instance, how about that, would make me move Buckner into my top 5. But offensive line-wise, you got to keep Ryman there, and, obviously the 2 secondary guys we mentioned, I think both have to be there. So I would still say no.
The reason why I push Buckner, again, I still think you have some nice depth on your D-line. But let's go back to a conversation we had yesterday. Why I think the Ebukam loss is extra notable is this. You have put so much pressure on your defensive line in how you operate schematically. You don't blitz. And theoretically, the position group that goes hand in hand mostly with your D-line is probably your secondary. Rush and cover. You hear that phrase a lot when you hear, Gus Bradley talk, and coordinators are going to meet the media here later today. That is a frequent phrase that you hear. Well, when your secondary is this inexperienced, and I think at times has certainly struggled in the last year or so, it puts more pressure on your D-line to create a four-man rush. So that's why I do look at Buckner at 4 and think, and you know what I think of Blackman.
Oh, I know.
And you know what I think of Blackman at safety. I think to myself, man, can I push Buckner any higher on that list? That is a real thought that I had because, Ebicom he earned 3 down. There were 2 guys on this football team on the D-line last year that earned 3 down trust from the coaching staff. It was Buckner and it was Ebicom. Now you've taken Ebicom out. What if you take Buckner? I mean,
right.
That's why I do look at Buckner and think, man, again, I know there's a position that has some quality depth. There's 4 first-round picks in the D-line room. There's 3 second-round picks. You only start 4 dudes in your D-line. They've got 7 first or second-rounders.
It's a lot of draft capital.
In that D-line room. So, there's part of me it's like, Kevin, you're an idiot. But then, a little bit's like, hey, let's acknowledge that some of these dudes in that room are pretty rare, and Buckner is certainly that.
Yeah, Buckner's obviously great. What about the non-Buckner guys? Like if we kind of fleshed the list out and you went all the way to number 10 or 11 or 12, like Latu and Kwity Paye and those guys move up how much? I think Latu, to me, would be the one that made the big jump.
I think they're knocking in the top 10 territory.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to lose sight of Braden Smith. I don't want to lose sight of Jonathan Taylor. I don't think you want to ignore Zaire Franklin on that list. I mean, we're talking about your every snap quarterback of your defense. And again, if he goes down, Saguna Luby or, something along those lines.
The guy's 100 and some tackles.
This man just ran the 40 in a full dress outfit.
Yes, he did. He came from work.
He is business casual, and he ran a 5.7.
Right. Jack, can you do this? Can you go find out about these guys? Like, get their names, what they do, why they're in.
You run a 40 in the full business casual?
Hang on. They're looking. Go talk to him, Jack. Yeah, go talk to him. By the way, I didn't know Jack's name was Jack Johnson.
Jack, will you ask this man right here in the white
name.
And the
Solid
white
Jams by Jack Johnson.
He makes songs about love. That's what he does. Yeah, those guys
that
are
info on this.
Those guys are in business attire, like they're going to get it.
What do we have here? 9:13 in the morning. They're running 40s in full business casual.
These guys are going to go close a deal after this.
You just run a 40 in full business casual? Unbelievable.
What did you say the 40 time was?
It looked like 5.7.
Okay.
And they, and one of them's got the one button undone. It looks like he could be on South Beach here. I mean, literally, at this, the gates have been open for 13 minutes at Grand Park. 98% of the people running the 40-yard dash haven't hit puberty yet. And we got dudes at business casual running the 40.
It's a good,
hell of an effort.
Yeah, it was a good effort.
Are we closing deals and running the 40?
That's what these guys are doing. I love it.
Jack, put on the headset.
Yeah, Jack, go ahead and turn your mic on there.
Give us some info here, Jack, on these guys.
Still stunned Jack's name is Jack Johnson. I'm not over that. I just looked at his credentials.
Jack Johnston, right? He throws another T.
Oh, it's a T. I didn't see that.
Jack, what do we have there? That was unbelievable.
So, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. We got you here. Yeah, turn
Jack
that up.
gets us on. He gets us on the air every morning.
Okay.
He's here at 6
so
o'clock.
Their names are Alex, Torsen, and Marcus.
Okay.
So, and they sounded foreign. I think they were Italian.
Okay. Wow.
Not sure.
Well, I mean, judging their outfits, that looks very nice.
Yeah.
And do we know what they do for a living? What were they doing running the 40 at 9:13 in the morning?
I have no clue. I don't know what they do for a living, so.
I mean,
they're just wandering. They're in line now with the kids for where you can catch a pass.
I mean, go
like
grab the
Michael
cheerleader
Pittman.
calendar. I mean, what are we doing here? Colts City alive and well here on this Wednesday morning.
I wonder do they have nice Italian loafers on? I love that. I love Jack. I think they're Italian. Okay.
Unbelievable here. Well, we'll try to get an Olympic background on our 40-yard dash runners here in a second. Lyn Dunn going to join us here.
Oh, the great Lyn Dunn.
In 15 minutes. Did you see the Fever baid to practice this week?
I did see that, yeah.
Caitlin Clark mentioned her first vacation she had.
Yeah, how long?
She believes her sophomore year of college. She said she read a full book. Can you imagine?
Did she say which book?
I did
we
not.
We got to find out.
Details on the book.
Like fiction, nonfiction. What are we looking at?
I don't know if she read Holes or what she maybe read on vacation.
Maybe a John Grisham novel. Maybe she likes those legal thrillers.
Get onto the golf course here, but again, the Fever in a nice position. They're one Olympian. Christy Wallace doesn't even start for them anymore.
No.
So you've got the ability to get some good practice time in. And Lyn Dunn, as last week she told us about stories on the team plane over to the 92 Olympics with the Dream Team, watching Michael and Larry play some high-stake poker game, I believe is what she described with us. She'll join us here in about 15.
Yeah, so, I mean, good stuff. Did you happen to see, by any chance, since we're just having fun here, did you happen to see, there's a sports radio station in Nashville, Tennessee, 104.5 The Zone. Did you happen to see Jeffrey Simmons, the big defensive lineman for, who's obviously a very good player?
Yeah, he
for
went
the Titans.
after old Buck down there, right?
Yeah. And I'm blanking on his name. Help me.
Rising.
Yeah, that's it. He does the midday show there.
He's always next to us at the combine.
He is. Did you see Simmons get into a screaming match with him? So basically,
there were some expletives, I believe, that we can't say on air.
They're sitting there just like we would be right here. Their show was, and Simmons approaches, and I guess Buck had said something. I guess his host had said something. I don't even know what. And Simmons was giving him the business while another player was sitting down to be interviewed.
Yeah, Roger McCreary, one of their DBs, was like sitting down to be interviewed,
like,
and Jeffrey Simmons is ready to go toe to toe. It was juicy.
Oh no, it was, and I always think, like, in our terms, it wouldn't happen to you, but if it happened to me, like I always think, if it happened to me and a player were mad at something, that I said on the air and approached me at camp, I mean, that's a good thing for the show, probably, and it's a net gain, I would imagine. Is it not?
I thought Buck handled it pretty well. I mean, it's awkward. It's certainly made for a nice video. I mean, there's
it's
video
great
of
social
it out
media
there for those that want to see it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw a picture from Tennessee camp this morning that Buck and Jeffrey were having a little morning chat.
Oh, so they finally got together.
And again, I don't know the spirit level of said morning chat, but it looked like they were having that. Team USA back on the hardwood coming up 3 o'clock today.
Do the right thing, Kerr.
You want equal playing time.
What do you think the over-under is for Jason Tatum?
12 and a half minutes.
You think about 12? Okay, so, 12 and a half minutes. I need to look at the box score from the other night. 12 and a half minutes would still put him more towards the, I don't know, maybe 8th guy on the team?
If I'm not mistaken, you're starting to get into every other day rhythm, to their games.
Right.
Or certainly when you get to the medal round, it's every other day. So, if you look at their group, Serbia was their hardest game that they just had. South Sudan, now in the exhibition game, played great, obviously, against Team USA. And then Puerto Rico, they have later this week, they're the worst team. So you start to scale back a Durant, a LeBron, a Steph a little bit, thinking about the medal round. Because in the medal round, you're going to have 3 probably pretty quality games where you're going to have to rely on your guys, a decent amount of minutes. So I am curious on that end. I cannot believe this line.
29 points still.
29-point favorite. Again, LeBron needed a game-winning, and I get it's an exhibition game, but LeBron needed a game-winning layup without Kevin Durant to beat them, and it's a 29-point spread.
I know. Well, this is one of those games that when we talk about the other guys playing, and I hate to say this, for him it would be Tyrese Halliburton getting in the game where you lead by a lot of points, where it's okay to give some of the older guys a rest. Don't you point to this game? This is the kind of game.
If I'm going to get technical, it's probably more Puerto Rico.
Probably.
You can clinch some stuff today. You don't want to play with fire here.
No.
And you only beat them by 1 in the exhibition game. So I think if I'm going to get technical, today is still a pretty all-hands-on-deck thing. Maybe a little dial back, but not too much. I think Puerto Rico coming up over the weekend would be.
You think it fits that?
Again,
the spread's 30, so they're saying they're going to be up 20, 25 points in the second half.
The spread was what, 25 for France over Japan yesterday, and France needs a miracle to beat Japan. It's like, someone sent me the Charles Barkley audio. He thought it was a joke that Steve Kerr doesn't play everybody. Dude, this ain't the '92 Dream Team. The world is these teams are so much better than Angola. And if you lose
for Angola,
you get made fun of none other.
You're a national joke.
France, it was getting ripped for going to overtime with Japan. So if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm taking no chances. No chances whatsoever. And it is get 6 wins and get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And I hope I keep everyone as happy as possible. But, playing 12 dudes, it's just – I don't think it's as easy as everyone makes it sound like.
Yeah, I think the only
– because as soon as you lose –
well, no, you're a national disaster.
Exactly.
No. I think the only kickback I could have, and I mostly agree with that, is, are we to the point to win, if we're up by 20-some-odd points, like today, if we're up 27 points and it's, 9 minutes to go in the game and you're still pressing with LeBron and Curry and, Kevin Durant coming off the calf injury and everything else, the question there is, why wouldn't you let some of those guys play if you're up big? I think that would be number one. And number two would be, do you feel like you can't win? I mean, do you feel like, quite frankly, the chance of you winning a game goes down a lot less? Or, I guess losing a game goes up, the percentages go up more if you're playing a guy like Halliburton instead of fill in the blank, Hall of Famer.
The issue with Sunday was Serbia was beating you throughout that whole first quarter pretty much. You didn't build this lead to where that starts to enter your mind.
Not to the second half.
Again, Durant was absolutely incredible in getting you that lead and then holding it from there. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was still kind of single-digit stuff through the third quarter a little bit there before you pulled away. Again, that is a 3 o'clock tip time from
When do we get the starting lineups? Because it's 3 o'clock. I mean, so when do we? So we probably won't get them by the end of the show.
Bench for Anthony Davis. I don't think they'll do that though.
I don't think they'll make any moves with the starting lineup.
Do you think they'll start Durant? Durant for Booker?
Boy, I don't know. This goes back to what we were talking about here. Do you care? I mean, in other words, if Kevin Durant comes in after playing, after 6 minutes in, he comes in, splashes 3 threes.
I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I think in a 40-minute game, you give some of these international teams life.
Oh, sure. They feel like they can beat you.
Right. So I do think the start kind of matters a little bit more. And I know you could easily point to the other day and say, look at Serbia. You could easily act like the start certainly didn't matter in that one. 2 games, by the way.
But what would I do? Yeah, I mean, I would start the better players. I mean,
would you start Durant and Anthony Davis?
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, I even think
I think I would, but I don't think Kerr will.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. I guess we're talking. I guess I care a little bit more about starting maybe than you. Even when we talked about like Latu, we talked about the Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell. I don't know. I feel like in basketball, especially early on, with the 10-minute quarters, it feels like those starters can play almost that first quarter. I mean, they can play 7, 8. You got to think of an NBA rotation. They'd go, 9, 10 minutes and then come out at the end of the first quarter and get that rest in to the second quarter. You can't quite do that when it's only 10-minute quarters. I think we crush South Sudan today. I think we put it on
South Sudan is a hell of a story. For those
it's a great story.
It's the youngest country in the world. Luol Deng was born there, and he played for Great Britain because, again, it wasn't a country until 2011.
It's an unbelievable story.
Luol Deng has pretty much funded their basketball program. There's no indoor basketball courts. I mean, it is remarkable that they are in the Olympics, let alone they won their first game. They beat Puerto Rico in game number 1 and obviously gave Team USA a whole lot they could handle in the exhibition slate. Mark, where are we at on our morning Olympic update here in studio?
Well, they're done swimming in the pool water, and now they're on the bike. So they're on the bike portion of the triathlon, and that's where we're at right now.
Any remnants down anybody's leg?
I would hope not, but that water every time they slushed around, I'm like, that does not look pleasant, not even a little bit.
And did we score in field hockey, or are we Iowa?
It is now switched to. We've now switched to USA France women's beach volleyball.
Is that a Ken Dilger jersey? You got Dilger? Let's go. Shout out to the legend, Ken Dilger. Let's go, Santa Claus, Indiana.
He gave you a flex. I like that.
Illinois.
I appreciate that. You want to get to a morning check down?
Lyn Dunn in 5. Let's go ahead and check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. Season tickets are on sale now. Order by August 1st for your shot at the best seats in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
All right, there's been a lot of Latu conversation from yesterday's press conferences, so we can start there and then move on to a couple different Shane Steichen clips. Let's start here. Guys needing to step up. We know Ebukam going down with that injury, whether it be Kwity Paye, Latu. We'll see exactly who steps up. Here's Shane Steichen yesterday.
Kwity, Dio, and Latu, I mean, it's time those guys need to step up. I mean, they're good players, and now obviously Latu coming in, rookie year. Obviously we like where he's at, and we got to keep repping that and go from there.
All right, so I thought yesterday as well, one more here from head coach Shane Steichen. I thought Steichen kind of lit up a little bit when people ask him about Jelani Woods. Now, I know Woods is not running with the first team right now, and, I didn't even think about this, given that he was injured with that hamstring injury all last year. This is the first time this coaching staff has seen him in pads. You really don't think about that because he missed all of last year. Here's Steichen. He was asked about Jelani Woods, his tight end. Here's what he had to say.
Big and long. This is obviously last year with the injury. This is the first time we've seen him really in pads today, really. But you can see his length, what he brings down the field, down the middle of the field. I mean, he's got some good speed once he gets going. So it's really good to have him back.
Can I still think Woods is a little bit lower on that tight end depth chart?
I agree.
If you were going to make me kind of map it out. Not a ton of conviction behind that tight end depth chart, but just giving you some thoughts on what I've seen so far through 4 practices. Notebooks, plug the website, I will, 1075thefan.com. We got some daily notebooks up there recapping each training camp practice. Again, fans starting to pour in here to Grand Park. 10 a.m. start time. Mark, cue the great music. Medals won yesterday of note. The women's rugby bronze medal, the highlight of a lifetime. Unbelievable. Spiff Cedric. I don't know. She could be a third down scat back for the Colts with that effort yesterday. Truck sticking this Australian woman.
It's unbelievable.
And then just having the stamina then to run 90-some yards and get do we call that a try? I don't even know what we call that. What I know is whatever she did, they were able to win the bronze medal because of her. An absurd highlight there from the USA women's rugby team. And USA women's gymnastics, celebrities galore in the building. Beyond dominant for Simone Biles and Jordan Childs and Jade Carey and Suni Lee and everybody
good for them
on that team. They steamrolled the rest of the world in capturing gold there. What am I missing on the Olympic front that has caught your eye? Chase Budinger lost in beach volleyball, is that right?
Jack's been updating us. He gives us a sad update every time. Yeah, Chase Budinger lost. I'm like, oh, my God. How much bad news are you going to give us? Both men's and women's USA 3x3 teams, 3-on-3, I should say, they both lost. The women lost to Germany 17-13. Come on.
Women's beach volleyball
ladies.
is currently beating France right now, 1-0 first set. So
good.
We've got that going for us.
And Andy's favorite U.S. men's soccer. They are on to the knockout round, the second time since 1960 that the U.S. men's soccer team has made it to the knockout round.
Quickly, Major League Baseball, Reds 6-3 over the Cubbies again. 2 straight against the Cubs. Cardinals 8-1 over the Rangers. Indianapolis Indians 7-5 over Toledo. Those 2 teams back at it tonight, 7:05 at Victory Field. Just quickly, NFL update. Might as well give you one of these. Bears, they gave DJ Moore 4 years, $110 million. $82.6 million guaranteed, largest extension in Bears history. Unbelievable. So they lock up another wide receiver there. All right, let's take a break. A little over 2 weeks from the Fever getting back in action, but they're back in practice. So what are they doing at practice? What are they working on? The Fever GM, Lyn Dunn, the great Lyn Dunn, she joins us next year on The Fan.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The great Lyn Dunn scheduled to join us here. We're live in Westfield. Colts training camp crowd is pouring in to Grand Park. Should be another highly attended practice as it is day 5 of 12 here from Westfield. 90 minutes, Andy. So these are, this is the longest practice that they'll have. I think they had a 90-minute on Sunday, but that's the longest they'll go here. I'm pretty sure. Maybe they have an hour and 45 day, but 90 minutes on schedule, 10 to 11:30, and a reminder Friday will be 9 a.m. Actually, I think that one is an hour and 45.
It's an hour and 45. It's 9 to 10:45 on Friday. Yeah, so some longer practices. I was laughing. The Colts people, they put out this on social media. Reggie Wayne, when you're from Florida, South Florida, whatever, you're from the South, you look at everything that's not the South and the heat anywhere else, and you say, that ain't the heat that was in the South, and that was Reggie Wayne to his wide receivers yesterday. But that's what the Florida man always does. They shame the rest of us that we are sweating our ass off when it's just simply 90 degrees, but it's not Florida heat.
Again, Reggie Wayne dresses out here like he's cutting weight for the Newcastle semi-state.
Well,
it's
Steichen.
It's unbelievable. I'm like, you got to get down to 144 by 3 o'clock today to wrestle against Roncalli this afternoon. It's just unbelievable, Reggie Wayne. Mark, let us know when we have the great Lyn Dunn on the phone lines. Oh, we do.
There we go.
Let's go to the Payless Liquors hotline. The one and only Lyn Dunn joins us. Lyn, are you a Colts fan? Who's your favorite NFL team? I guess you got to say Colts because you're in this market. Do you have a favorite NFL team?
And, Rocky Top, we're all tied together there. Of course, I've always liked the Titans because I'm from Tennessee, but the Titans can't seem to measure up lately to the Colts.
I was going to say,
oh boy,
don't say that too loud, Coach, or, some people are going to, start cheering for whatever, the liberty around you. Come on now.
Now, how did the Colts look? You guys have watched camp. How are they looking? Are we a playoff team?
Well, if they play the Titans every week, I think they'll be a playoff team.
Well, that's sure.
I think they'll hover right around 10 wins.
That's pretty good. Yeah, not too bad.
I think they'll hover right around there. Obviously, it's a great time to be in the city of Indianapolis. A lot of young stars out there. Speaking of young stars, you guys got back to work. Caitlin Clark and company back in town. Just refresh our audience, if you don't mind, Lyn, on what this opportunity presents for your team right now. You've got this multiple-week period with the Olympic break. You only have one player in the Olympics, so you guys, I'm sure, are going to get a couple of days here on court as you get ready to restart things.
Well, the Olympic break really was a great opportunity for us first to get some rest. The players, especially the Caitlin, that come straight from Iowa and college and the Final Four, get a break, get some fresh legs, get a chance to just catch your breath. And then now they're back, and we'll practice 2 or 3 days in a row, take a day off or two, and then practice a couple more days, and just get ready for coming back for the last part of the season. And, we've got 5 away games, but we've got 9 home games. So we've got an excellent schedule after this break, and it's an opportunity to really work on a couple of areas that we need to get better in, and one of them is defense.
Fever GM Lyn Dunn with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. I was going to ask you about that, whether it be you and Coach Sides, and then obviously back when the Pacers were playing with Coach Rick Carlisle. All 3 of you have had the same kind of conversation. If you've lost some games, you look at it and say, we haven't been able to practice. We haven't been able to practice or string practices together. Now that you are stringing practices together, how valuable, how unique, given that you're able to do that in the middle of the season, and how valuable can this time be to get those practices in before you make this last month of the season or so?
Nothing is more valuable than practice time. Quality practice time. This is where you get better. This is where you fix the things that need fixing. This is where you emphasize the details. This is where you take the next step. And we're fortunate because we've got a fairly young team, so we don't have to worry about, well, can we practice 3 days in a row? Yeah, because we don't have a lot of old veterans, that have to rest their legs. So this is a great opportunity for us to take the next step, to get better, and to be prepared for that second half. And we're really going to focus on defense. We know we need to defend better.
All right, I'm going to ask you this. It might be a dumb question, but, when the Pacers did this, they put Andrew Nembhard in the starting lineup, and that was one of the big moves they made to become a better team on the defensive side of the ball. Is it just individuals stepping up? What can you do in practice to make your team better defensively from internally with what you already have on the team?
That's a great question because I'm one of these old school coaches that believes that fundamental individual defense, it starts with your technique, it starts with your footwork, it starts with investing time in those individual skills, and then that carries over to your team skills. It's individual defense first, it's doing the details right, and then the team defense doing everything as well as you can and investing time in it every day. You don't just spend 5 minutes one day a week. You spend, 12, 13, 18 minutes every day on your defense, and that's how you get better.
She is the legend. She is the GM of the Indiana Fever, Lyn Dunn, with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Lyn, what's something you've learned about Caitlin Clark in the last few months you had no idea about until you drafted her?
She's much quicker than everybody thought she would be. I mean, you watched her at Iowa, and you just kept saying, "Oh, well, she doesn't have the foot speed to excel at the next level," and that's not true. She's very quick without the ball. She's very quick with the ball, and she's fast. You know what I'm saying? I think we saw that in that All-Star game when she dribbled through the Olympic team and, I don't know what, had 10 assists. So we're not questioning her speed and quickness anymore.
What about off the floor?
Off the floor, just a great ambassador for the game of women's basketball, great ambassador for sports. She's smart. She's tough. You look at all these corporate deals that she's made with Nike and Gatorade and State Farm. And she has a high basketball intellect, but she also has a high corporate intellect.
Lyn Dunn with us, Fever GM on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Last one for me, Lyn. Again, appreciate your time on this Wednesday. I don't know how much you've seen of Team USA women's basketball. Just one game in, really blowing out Japan, Belgium tomorrow, and then Germany next week. Just one game. I know you've seen some exhibitions. What have you made of that team?
Very impressed with the overall talent, impressed with the depth. It's tough for Coach Reeves to figure out how to, get playing time. There's just so much talent out there. And I've seen our games. I've seen the men's games. I've seen the 3-on-3. I was a little disappointed in both our men's and women's 3-on-3 that they started out with a loss, but I think that's just a matter of time for us to get adjusted over there. I think we're going to be better than we showed in those first 2 3-on-3 games, and I think we've got games this afternoon, both men and women, in 5-on-5 and 3-on-3. So I'm loving watching the Olympics. And I'm loving watching the women's rugby team,
How about that finish? Spiff Cedric. We got to get her on the Colts, Coach.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what I was thinking. I wonder if she could join the Colts. Man, she's tough. That whole team was tough. I was very impressed with rugby.
All right, last one, Coach, and whatever, the IU connection, this gets brought up a lot, but I was curious about this during the downtime. What more do you need to see from someone like Grace Berger to get her in the lineup? I know you drafted her, pretty high a couple of years ago, and again, a lot of obviously local people here saw her play at IU. So what more, or what is, I guess, holding Grace Berger back from playing more for you?
Well, I'm a Grace Berger fan. I drafted her in the first round. I think she's a combo guard that can play the 1, the 2, and the 3. She's just growing her skills at this next level. She had a little bit of a setback with breaking her thumb in the off season, but I'm still all in for Grace Berger, and I'm not about to give up on her. It's just a matter of time till she helps us.
Coach, enjoy watching the Olympics. Always enjoy our conversations. Looking forward to things getting back underway here in a couple weeks, and looking forward to us chatting next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Go Colts.
The one and only Lyn Dunn right there on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Mark, if I could put you on the spot, do you have the rugby highlight ready to go?
Give me
need
1
to
second.
Hear the audio.
Yeah.
And Andy, the version I heard yesterday was not an English highlight.
I know. That's the one that was working its way around the internet.
Is this the non-English?
This
Yes,
is the
this
English.
is the full
okay.
English
I
one.
haven't-
Yeah. So
I haven't heard this one.
This picks up where there's a scrum for the ball.
What were we down?
get the
10-7, 12-7?
12-7. No,
Okay.
or was it 13-7 because we got the 6 and then we had to kick the extra point. It was one or the other. But yes, we tied it and then we had to kick the extra point. I don't know the terminology that they use.
Now, again, let's just set the scene here. There's, 10, 15 seconds left.
Yep.
It looks like we're dead.
Last-ditch
we got to
effort.
go the length of the field. There's no chance, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, Spiff Cedric goes truck stick and turbo mode. Pete Wheeler and backyard baseball in the open field. She's gone. Mark, cue up the highlight.
Cedric, Spiff Cedric's away. Cedric up over the 50, the 40. She's going to take it all the way. Cedric for the USA.
And
Let's go.
Oh, beside myself right now.
It is level at 12 apiece. The conversion will win the bronze medal for Team USA. Yes, Sammy, we got you. Calm down. It's all down to the kick. Wow. Just wow.
Unbelievable.
This is going to be the easier kick
honest.
right down the middle.
There it is.
Oh,
It's
there
not a good
it
call.
is.
What do you mean? The USA
Cedric
call's
with the
great.
conversion.
I don't think it's a great
and
call.
Team USA.
How are you?
I got to give Matt Taylor could do better. I know he's on radio, so it's different. He's got to
That's a
describe
great
things.
call.
That was an
I think
electric
I
call.
need more. I need more energy when she's breaking 18 tackles.
I mean,
okay?
she really broke one big one.
I mean, there were 3 girls that are hanging on her leg. She's breaking tackles. I need something better. I don't know
You
about
want
that
Gus
guy.
Johnson out
Get
there?
Costas. Get Costas back. Let's get Costas on it. What are we doing? That's mediocre.
I thought that was I thought it was
beautiful, the
excellent.
USA. Tremendous.
You're
there.
just draping yourself in the flag because they said USA. I don't even know. And by the way, when he said she's got 40 yards to go, she didn't. She's at the 20-yard line. I mean, the guy was way behind the action. I think he thought it was done. He was packing his bag up and getting ready for the post game. Ready to send it back to Tirico.
The bronze medal, the first medal in the history of USA women's rugby on that end. Absolutely electric yesterday, even though Andy Sweeney acts like that was a library call.
But it was again, to set the scene, it's basically like in the NFL. If the game ended, old kickoff rules, you kick the ball off. You're the last play of the game where you're just throwing it back. You have an offensive
Music
lineman.
City Miracle, Titans, Bills.
Yeah, I mean, think of something like that where you just keep lateraling the ball over and over again. That's basically what happened. She had 3 of the Australian players hanging on her. She bulls through them. One girl's hanging onto her ankle, her leg, and then when she accelerates, then she's got to go the length of the field to score. Now, if you watch that, there is one of the girls from Australia is catching her. Like, this girl's fast. And if there was another 20 yards involved, we could have been close. The second thing, and I don't know the answer to this in rugby, I do not, is what's the name of the girl that dove into
Spiff.
the Spiff, okay? Spiff dove for the end zone at the very end. And she made me nervous that I was like, make sure what if her knee would have hit before she got to the end
Spiff
zone?
knew what she was doing.
I'm like, it's like an NFL player that drops the ball it's a Deshaun Jackson dropping the ball at the 1-yard line. Okay? Who are you looking at over there? You looking at Gus Bradley and Steichen talk? I see you over there.
Colts on the practice field. Things getting underway here.
It was a fine call. It was
15
okay.
minutes. Mark, let's just cue up the phone lines. Let's reward the listeners that are not.
We'll
at
do a pop
Grand
quiz
Park.
today?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Mark, 4-pack of tickets right to the motocross for the state fair starting this weekend?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the 406 FMX High Air Tour at the courtesy of the Hoosier Lottery at the grandstand at the Indiana State Fair, August 2nd through August 18th. Family 4-pack. You call into the pop quiz 317-239-1070.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It doesn't look too bad, but it's going to be tough to get 5 out of 5. There is a couple baseball ones in here that are a little ancient. So Scotty's Pop Quiz, we'll do it next. 317-239-1070. Final segment here. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
We got a couple legends in the building. That would be one, Joe Wright, arguably the greatest athlete in Hamilton County history. Greg Rakestraw also with us. How about this, Andy Sweeney? We're about to do the pop quiz, and Greg Rakestraw has volunteered himself as the phone a friend for the pop quiz.
I like it. It's cockiness.
That's a smart phone a friend.
Yes, it is.
Like if you're ranking them of who wants to be a millionaire, Rake, I'm putting you at the top of the list.
I appreciate that. I've already been thinking about my unique clues that I can give.
Ooh.
Like, for example, if the answer is B, there might be an Uma Thurman reference who made her debut in the movie Johnny Be Good.
Oh, boy.
Or
now,
how,
I mean, come on now here. Come on now here.
Or how Thomas C. Howell is sometimes forgotten in terms of great actors of the 80s. So
that sounds like
there may be some
JMV
random
hits.
movie references as not-so-secret code.
Are we going to regret having Rake on after
yes,
this?
the answer is absolutely yes.
Unbelievable.
Well, everyone's rooting for Scotty to give a bunch of 1912 baseball questions, so, here we go.
Mark, go ahead and toss someone on there. Give us the name. Who we got?
All right, we'll do fast fingers. That would be Paul. Paul, you're on the air.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Paul, what do you think about having Greg Rakestraw as your phone a friend on this beautiful Wednesday morning?
I like it. I'm kind of nervous about the pop quiz, so I like any help I can get.
We got you covered, Paul. You'll come in for the hot tag. You'll be ready to go. You're in good shape.
Rake is calming Paul's nerves here.
I mean, Paul, you should be fine if you mess up. Blame it on Rakestraw.
Boy,
That's all you have to do.
I know Rake's smart.
That was company policy at the Fan for many years, was to blame me, so it's perfectly fine.
This pop quiz is no joke here. Go ahead, Andy Sweeney.
All right, question number 1. Name one of the teams that currently owns the best record in Major League Baseball. Just name one of them.
Orioles?
I don't think Paul's going to need my help.
You sure about that, Rake?
I don't follow baseball these days. The Reds stink, so my interest is
You're
waned.
in trouble with Scotty then. That's not the right answer.
I was going to drop him cute fella as the hint, so clearly I would have been wrong.
Eastern time zone. They've got red in their uniforms.
It's not the Cincinnati Reds, Paul.
It's
that
not
much I know.
We can't lose on question 1 here. Albert Bell,
it is a team in Ohio, and this other team has lost 2 straight games.
So, Paul, just to clarify, it's a team in Ohio, and it's not the Cincinnati Reds.
Here we go. All right, Paul, on the other end of the MLB spectrum, the White Sox are historically horrific. They've dropped 16 in a row. Again, the American League All-Stars have won more recently than the White Sox. They're 27-83 on the year. That's a win percentage of .245. Name the last MLB team to complete a season with a win percentage of .250 or lower. Are we going 03 Tigers, 52 Pirates, 62 Mets, or 35 Boston Braves?
Let's go Tigers.
I mean, who the hell knows it?
Yeah,
Like,
nobody
there's
knows
no way
that.
you know this.
Looking up
Do you?
winning percentages.
I think the 62 Mets were right on that number. I do not have a computer or the information in front of me.
Right.
So if it's lower, I think it was the 35 Braves, but I think the answer is the 62 Mets.
Let's go Mets then.
Only Rake.
That's pretty good, man.
Only Rake. Paul, when you rest your head tonight, be grateful for Greg Rakestraw. Let's move on to
All
number
right,
3.
quickly, question number 3. The NFL preseason kicks off tomorrow night. The Hall of Fame game in Canton. It's got the Bears and the Texans. Every team has played at least once in the Hall of Fame game. Which franchise has currently gone the longest without playing in Canton? Carolina Panthers, Detroit Lions, San Diego/LA Chargers, or Seattle Seahawks?
The Chargers.
I do not know the answer.
Okay.
I'm going to go with common sense here. Since the Lions just got good, like the Lions won back-to-back playoff games for the first time since the 50s, in theory that means they wouldn't have that many Hall of Famers to ask them to be in the actual game. So common sense would say Detroit Rock City. I could be wrong.
Let's go with Greg's answer.
He's Ken Jennings. He's Ken. He's literally Ken
Paul.
Jennings. Colts last played in the Hall of Fame game in 2008, losing to Washington 30-16. They were scheduled to play. Rick, I don't know if you were there for that one.
No, I had you run to the studio to do a quick post-game show because the game never happened.
They were scheduled to play in the 2016 game, but that game was canceled due to poor field conditions. I was there. It was awful, but Mark Dykton was happy because one quarterback did not get to play in that game. Who were the Colts scheduled to play, Paul, in the 2016 Hall of Fame game? Packers, Cowboys, Steelers, Bears. Mark Dykton was very happy that one quarterback did not play.
We got to go quick here, too.
Packers.
Mark, save us 40.
That's the right answer. All right, on this day in 1978, the Reds' Pete Rose collected a single to extend his hitting streak to a National League record-tying 44 games. The streak would end the following night. Name the future Hall of Fame pitcher who gave up the single to Rose to extend the streak to 44 games. Do you know this?
I know the team,
okay,
but I don't.
Steve Carlton, Don Sutton, Tom Seaver, Phil Necro.
Sometimes the answers can be in the form of a curveball, maybe even a different type of breaking pitch there, my friend.
We'll go answer C.
Did he say C?
He said Seaver, yeah. Which is not right.
Rake, 62 Mets, you got it. Detroit Lions, you got it. Packers, you got it. Let's go! Phil Negro there at the end.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Rick. We'll start having you on Fridays if you don't mind.
Of course.
Can't wait. He's a busy man.
Talk to my agent.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with
Rick
us. Go ahead.
Venturi, TV calls week 1 and 2 here in the preseason, and then week 3 will be that Amazon game down in Cincinnati. That's a nationally televised broadcast.
All right, Jake and Jimmy coming your way at noon. JMV at 3 o'clock. Everyone have a good afternoon right here on The Fan.